across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to evening I've written down here. So, good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan. I'll be with you all the way to 7 o'clock. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Friday, April the 10th. Here's what's coming up. Thanks to our gormless government run by a Prime Minister that 2/3 of voters want out of Downing Street right now, balmy Britain's gargantuan welfare bill is an obscene £330 billion a year and rising. People who work hard are funding millions of people who don't work at all. And the Labourites running this country into the ground just love that. So much so that there's a hidden benefits bill you don't know about. 10 billion quid to pay for a vast array of massive discounts for those who claim universal credit. A family of 4 ticket to the Tower of London, for example, will set you back £111. If you're on universal credit, wait for this, you get a £107 discount. So you pay just 4 quid. So if you're working, you want to go, I'm looking at it now, you want to go to the Tower of London, family of 4, special family ticket, £111. If you're not working, 4 quid. It's unbelievable. There's a long list of similar huge reductions, all promoted on welfare websites to encourage people without jobs to enjoy all their free time off. The shocking truth is Labour is deliberately plugging benefits claiming as an attractive lifestyle. How wrong is that? 0344 499 1000. Also on today's show, the madness of Starmer's ludicrous digital ID cards. They won't reveal whether the holders are men or women. How crazy is that? 0344 499 1000. In other news, turns out that the reason the Royal Navy is letting sanctioned Russian ships sail through the Channel, no questions asked, is because those complete and utter lawyers, Starmer and cretinous Attorney General Richard Hermer, fear that to intercept Putin's boats, would breach their sacred international law. How pathetic is that? 0344 499 1000. Plus, the latest on the world's worst ceasefire in the Middle East, Donald Trump claiming he had no idea that Melania was going to deliver her extraordinary Jeffrey Epstein disclaimer. There's a story there somewhere, I'll tell you. And the shock news, as I said earlier, that 2/3 of Brits want that idiot Starmer out of Downing Street right now. The shock being that 1/3 of Brits don't. Also, 2-tier declares that he's fed up with Trump. Donald would lose a lot of sleep about that. Not forgetting the runners, riders and favourites in tomorrow's Grand National, and reaction to Zach Palance's killjoy proposal to ban all horse racing. Why do so many lefties hate the idea of people enjoying themselves? 0344 499 1000. And finally, furious Australian taxpayers learn to their horror that they'll be funding Harry and Meghan's upcoming pretend royal tour down under. The gruesome twosome claim, no, it's all privately funded. No, it's going to be partly paid for by long-suffering Australian taxpayers, and they are not happy. I'll tell you what, that couple, when they get there, when they roll into Sydney, Melbourne, they're going to get booed. Guarantee you. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday afternoon together. Let's go straight over to my first guest. He is the Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kisley. Welcome, Philip.
Oh, hi, Kev. Really great to see you.
Always a pleasure. Now, first of all, shall we have a listen to Donald Trump Keir Starmer speaking to ITV about Donald Trump yesterday.
I'm fed up with the fact that families across the country see their bills go up.
We've just got, what he said was, great start, everyone, brilliant. Let's get some sound on that. But what he actually said, Philip, was that he's fed up with Donald Trump. So, OK, here we are. This one's with sound. It's even better.
I'm fed up with the fact that families across the country see their bills go up and down on energy. Businesses' bills go up and down on energy because of the actions of Putin or Trump across the world.
So he's fed up with Donald Trump. I'll tell you who we're fed up with, Philip, because his ludicrous lunatic of a nut zero secretary, crazy Ed Miliband. That's why our energy bills keep going up. Although I was going to say up and down, but they don't go down. That's why our energy bills keep going up, because he has an energy secretary who doesn't even have the slightest grip on reality, who is a crazy ideologue, who is sending this country to hell in a handcart and ruining our economy and charging or causing us to have to pay the highest energy bills in the Western world. You know, what is Starmer talking about?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like being at the mercy of a particularly naive undergraduate who's just discovered green politicking. We are at the mercy again of volatile global markets, and there is no reason why we should be, because we are sitting on a massive oil field. Again, it's looking into the 21st century, and I just despair. He's fed up with Donald Trump. Oh, right. Okay, well, we're fed up with you, Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
We're fed up with your car crash of a government. We're fed up with your ridiculous premiership. We're worried where it's going. We don't know what's going to happen in the near future, let alone the future that our children and grandchildren are going to have to deal with. It's the same thing always with this government, isn't it? They blame everybody else. They've only just stopped blaming the Tories, you know, for the economic black hole. Now they're blaming Donald Trump, you know, but everybody else in the country, literally everybody else, is blaming them. And you were just saying before, weren't you, Kev, about 2/3 of the country wanting the
poll has revealed that 2/3 of voters, it's not just the voters, want Starmer gone, out of Downing Street right now. As I say, the only thing I find surprising about that is 1/3 of people don't want him out.
Yeah, I mean, that is just, who are these complete psychopaths who want him to stay? You know, these self-harmers, you know, self-harm Britain here.
Yeah,
but I think it's
masochists. Yeah,
yeah. But I think the stats are broken down in various kind of ways, and I think it's only less than 1 in 5 people actually want him to stay. So, but the really interesting thing there, that's not just Reform voters, that's not just Green voters, or that's not just disgruntled Labour voters from years and years ago. That a lot of those people, I think it's more than half of people who voted Labour last time, do not want him to be Prime Minister. So this is the kind of crisis a Prime Minister is facing that I don't think any Prime Minister, certainly post-war, has ever faced before.
This guy, he pledged to put country before party. This is his actual ethos. He puts the party before the country, but more than that, he puts himself before his party and his country. His continued leadership of Labour is going to doom them. People, senior figures in Labour, everybody across the Labour Party knows this, that Keir Starmer has become the concrete boots around their ankles. And yet he digs in, he will not go. And I almost feel sorry for the Labour Party, but I'm not going to go quite that far.
No, don't go mad.
But as long as this strange little man digs his heels in and decides that he is the man to lead this country, Labour are going to descend. They are going to plummet even further in the polls. And while we're on the subject of Keir Starmer, I've been asking people this all week. What the hell does he think he's doing in the Middle East? What is he doing?
I mean, this is the problem, isn't it? He's got no idea what he's doing. So he's blaming Donald Trump, blaming everybody. It isn't as though he has some kind of policy, some kind of war footing that we are on that makes sense. So one minute he's not supporting, then he kind of is, then he kind of isn't, then he's blaming Israel for attacking Lebanon and so on and so forth, and coming absolutely out against the coalition. So he doesn't know what he's doing. And that, more than anything, is causing this kind of imbalance and this worry that is infecting everybody. It's just going on and on and on. And it's just something that he is not only a liability to the Labour Party, he's a liability to the country. And, you know, it's one of those things, isn't it, where everything is upside down, everything is volatile, and we have precisely the wrong person making all the wrong decisions for the wrong reasons. This is just, sorry, just to finish the point about this, because I think
please do.
There's some. Why has he just come out and said this about Israel now? Well, yes, it's about the rising cost of fuel and that potential crisis which could lead to protests in the streets and God knows what. But it's also about this mythical Muslim bloc vote that they don't have any.
Zach
the
Balanci's
Green Party. Yeah, but it's also fear of Islamists as well. So on the one hand, it's opportunism, but on the other hand, it's fear. Now, that is a very, very horrible and frightening combination for motivation, and that is what he's motivated by. It's opportunism, primarily for himself, but also for his party, and fear of everything. And that is the worst thing a leader should be. He should not be fearful.
He's a frightened little man, isn't he? And everything, all of his efforts, his entire life for the last, I would suggest, 3 months at least, possibly more, have been devoted towards self-preservation. You know, the most egregious example of which was when he moved hellfire and high water to prevent Andy Burnham becoming an MP, because Andy Burnham would have challenged his leadership, and therefore Labour went on to disastrously lose Gorton and Denton. They would have won it if Burnham was the candidate. That's an example of Keir Starmer putting himself above his party and his party above his country. The only thing, Nigel Farage got a big piece in the Mail today saying the only thing this guy thinks about is himself, self-preservation. He says that he's useless and he's selfish.
And we see where it goes. I'll give you another example. That's the classic example. But another example as well, of course, is refusing a national inquiry for the victims of the mostly Pakistani rape gangs in northern towns in this country, because they knew full well that they would be implicated. And so they just refused point blank. They don't care about the victims. They don't care about the people of this country. It's venal. It's all about self-preservation. And that is why we are really going wrong. I'd love to know what the viewers and listeners think about this. You know, if 1/3 of people still think that he should be prime minister, my God, they're not the listeners to this station and the viewers to this station. I'm sure they're not.
Yeah, I reckon that 1/3, I think they misunderstood the question. Ian Collins, who was on just before me, he put the question to his audience. He said, where did Starmer go wrong? I'll tell you where he went wrong. He went wrong on day one. Day one, when he called the Rwanda scheme a gimmick, ripped it up, threw it down the drain, thereby wasting £700 million worth of British investment. 700 million down the drain. And he said it was a gimmick and he would now smash the gangs. Well, we know about smashing the gangs. He didn't smash any. He then went on to one in, one out. That's a joke. He had a deterrent ready to roll, and he threw it down the drain on day one. And all these Labourites, all these Westminsterites will tell you, no, it's the economy. It's the economy, stupid. That's what people worry about, cost of living. Of course they do. But polling has revealed that the number one concern of the British electorate is the migrant crisis. That taken on board, you get to realise the magnitude of the mistake that Starmer made when he chucked our only deterrent into the bin on day one of his administration. So he went catastrophically wrong within 24 hours of being elected.
Yeah, and it isn't only that. There's also really lumpenly stupid things that illustrate very graphically that he has no political nous, no political instinct whatsoever. And it was on day one freezing the grannies, for God's sake. You know, if you want to set off on the wrong foot, you do something stupid like that will get you so much bad press, so much bad publicity, and then everything else you do, he froze the grannies, and then he give the train drivers lots, you know, a great big.
Don't forget the farmers. They took away.
Don't forget, and he set the farmers against him, and now he's at war with the junior doctors who are asking ridiculous amounts of money because he didn't control them in the first place. It's all about political instinct. He doesn't have any of it. But I think it's important just to come back to that very important point that you made, which is about immigration and illegal immigrants and the small boats, that they have been a complete and utter failure on every single level. With that very key thing is the thing that will do for them, and actually is the thing that already has done for them. This is a dead government walking their history.
Exactly right. And just by way of information, what would this be? On Tuesday, 137 migrants came across. Wednesday, 159. Yesterday, 74. So they're coming across in their droves again, hundreds of them. We have no deterrence whatsoever, and the government basically seems to be taking the attitude, well, we just can't get anywhere with this, so let's try and talk about something else. They are going to pay a big price for this. Before we go, let's have a quick listen to our hero, our supreme leader, Keir Starmer, on his strange, mysterious visit to the Middle East. He's talking about his call to President Trump.
I had a discussion with President Trump last night and set out to him the views of the region here. These Gulf states are the neighbours of Iran, and therefore, if the ceasefire is to hold, and we hope it will, it has to involve them. They have very strong views on the Strait of Hormuz. And we spent most of the time on the call talking about the practical plan that's going to be needed to get navigation through the Strait, and the role that the UK is playing. For a couple of weeks now, we've been pulling together a coalition of countries, now over 30 countries, working on a political and diplomatic plan, but also looking at military capabilities and actually the logistics of actually moving vessels through the Strait.
How to talk for 5 minutes without saying a damn thing. Absolute gobbledygook. This is all part of Labour's ludicrous plan to try to sell Starmer, to try to rebrand him as a colossus on the world stage, an international statesman, the like of whom we have never seen before. Astonishing man, you know. That's, of course, because he's a disaster back here. He's no good. He's obviously useless in Britain, but he's useless on the world stage as well. This idea, well, he's been a lot better, you know, on the foreign affairs. Has he? Has he? He's ruined the special relationship. Has he achieved anything else at all? I don't think so.
No, he's just been vacillating from start to finish, and that is the real problem. And it's so transparent what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's the lesser of two evils, isn't it? He's catastrophic at home. Well, he might be slightly less catastrophic on the world stage. They unleash him on the world stage, and it's actually no, he's worse. He's worse on the world stage. This is gonna be worse for us. So just looking at his body language and the way he's holding himself there.
He looked frightened.
With those people who look as though they absolutely hate him and desperately do not want to be there. Look at that guy with his arm folded. They're hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of people said, why can't the number 10 comms team, the communications side, why can't they find some people who like Starmer to get a photo up with? And I said, well, I think that's pretty much impossible. So these soldiers are like the rest of us. They can't stand him. But that footage we just showed you when he was coming out with that gobbledygook about getting to Britain's role, Britain hasn't got a role in any of this. But look at his face. He just looks frightened. He looks frightened.
He does, yeah.
He looks frightened and confused. I think it's like, come in, Keir, your time is up. Stop torturing yourself. Stop torturing the nation. Let someone else have a go, for God's sake. I've got to go now, Philip, but have a lovely weekend. It was great talking to you as always. We'll talk next week. Philip Kilsey, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum. He's got to go, hasn't he? 0344 499 1000. How soon would you like the Prime Minister to get the hell out of Dodge? Let me know. Next up, we're going to talk about this extraordinary secret benefits bill of £10 billion, where people on welfare get these huge discounts at London Zoo, Kew Gardens, Tower of London, you name it. Massive discounts, which is a way of saying, hey, if you go on welfare, it's a very attractive way of life. You get everything really cheap. This is all wrong. We'll talk about that next.
You've got mobile phone thefts, bicycle thefts. Everything is going out of control because Sadiq Khan and the left in general keep viewing crime as like a public health thing. It's not like a proactive approach to crime. All they want to do is kind of apologise and put people in a boxing club or whatever. They're not actually policing the streets. They're not punishing actual crimes.
What he does is he cherry picks parts of the statistics to make it look as if crime's gone down. So it'll be things like murders by left-handed gunmen have gone down dramatically. The trouble is, murders by right-handed gunmen have soared.
He's just trying to take credit, Keir Starmer, isn't he?
This man is not a leader. He is not the statesman that our country needs. He's failing us at every single level.
Donald Trump understands that Keir Starmer is fundamentally not a patriot. Yeah. He's not on the side of the West. He's been appeasing the Iranians in order to shore up his vote in this country.
In front of me is Waitrose, and I'm about to head in there. I literally openly put the stuff in my bag. I nervously walked to...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Listen, if you've got a job, if you work hard, and you want to take your family out, go out yourself. If you want to go and see some of the sights, particularly around London, Tower of London, Buckingham Palace, Kew Gardens, HMS Belfast. I can see that down on the Thames from where I'm looking now. All of these things, you know, they're quite expensive. 111 quid, for example, family of 4 ticket to go to Tower of London. So the best thing you can do is stop your job, stop working, stop getting up, don't go to work. Sign on to Universal Credit, start getting welfare, and that ticket to go to, for example, to go to the Tower of London, that £111 ticket for you and your family, for a family of 4, £111. If you're on Universal Credit, that will cost you £7. £4. I got that wrong. £4. You get £107 discount. And there is a massively long list of these huge discounts given to people who don't work, people who are on benefits. Now that is an encouragement, that's an enticement, isn't it? Let's talk to Research Director at the Taxpayers Alliance, Darwin Friend. Hi, Darwin.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks very much for having me on the show.
Good to see you. Now, I'll read through some of these discounts that you get. By the way, if you do go to Tower of London, you take your family, you want to get some fish and chips at the canteen. Fish and chips there, £16.95. It's half that price if you're on benefits. So here are some of the others. A family ticket to London Zoo is £108. If you're claiming welfare, £26. The list goes on. HMS Belfast. These are the discount to get into HMS Belfast, £68. Discount on St Paul's Cathedral, £61. Discount on Westminster Abbey, £54. Kew Gardens, £45 discount. London Transport Museum, £44 discount. Science Museum Wonderland, £27 discount. And on the list goes. Now, this becomes, in effect, apart from the fact that the rest of us who have to pay the full price will carry the burden for that, you know, they'll put the prices up for the rest of us so we can pay for the people who get into the Tower Bridge for Tower of London for a fraction of the price that we do. We have to pay for that, so our ticket prices will go up. And also, in the end, that's a kind of a benefits bill. This system, this huge discount system, to people who don't work, people on welfare, people on universal credit, amounts to £10 billion a year. There are websites, whole websites devoted to all the attractions. They have top 10 lists of welfare discounted attractions for you to take your family on those days when you don't work, because you're not working. You know, rather than look for a job, why not look at animals at London Zoo for a massive, around about a £75 discount, and so on and so forth. This promotes being on welfare as a far more attractive lifestyle than working, doesn't it? It's sick, it's wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest worry I have about it, is the incentives we're giving people as a result of this, because effectively we're saying, look, you can get things a lot cheaper if you're on benefits rather than if you're part of Alarm Clock Britain, where you're waking up every morning, going and doing a hard day's graft. And that's my big concern about it. And it's another addition to the fact that we are now spending more on welfare, £333 billion a year, than we're actually getting back in income tax at £331 billion a year. So I think this news, again, is just going to be another hammer blow for hard-working taxpayers who are already feeling squeezed and are rightly asking the question, when are we going to get a fair deal out of the government?
I'll tell you what it feeds into, Darwin. This government, it likes people on benefits. It's got this kind of old-fashioned socialist idea. These are the underprivileged. These are the people that we have to help. So it actually venerates people on welfare. Hence, ludicrously, we now have a bigger welfare bill than income from income tax. We're spending £330 billion a year on welfare at the moment. They reckon within a couple of years it will be about 420. It keeps going up. Two-child benefit cap has not helped, or getting rid of that has not helped. So this feeds into the government's idea that people on welfare, you know, are to be feted, are to be venerated, are to be helped, and therefore they're promoting it as an attractive lifestyle. If you're on benefits, What we should be doing, Darwin, is not giving the people these discounts if you're on benefits or welfare, and effectively say to them, look, if you want to go for a nice day out to Tower of London or Buckingham Palace or Kew Gardens, get a job and then you'll be able to afford it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make it an incentive. Not, oh, you don't have to get a job. And in fact, I think Buckingham Palace is like 90 quid to get in, but if you're on benefits, it's £1.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. We need to be encouraging those people, both for the government's sake, to get people off of welfare, but also for their own personal sakes, their mental well-being as well, to help them get back into work, because that's ultimately what's going to be the best thing for everyone. And unfortunately, Kevin, I'm sure you're aware, and many of your listeners will be aware as well, that these are only some of the perks that you can get as well. I was reading earlier today that also, I mean, you can get much cheaper deals, for example, on broadband and on phone contracts as well, where you can effectively save up to £200 a year from what they call social tariffs, where they get you a cheaper broadband deal. And to put that into context for everyone, £200 a year, that's almost exactly the same amount as the average taxpayer is going to be paying in more tax as the result of the government's continued freeze in income tax thresholds. And so I think we've got the entire incentive structure the wrong way round in this country, and we need to flip it around and actually start supporting taxpayers and supporting people who are in benefits and can work to actually get back into work, so that then they're better off, and also the public finances of the nation are better off at the same time.
Yeah, as I say, there are whole welfare claimers' websites with, for example, the top 10 universal credit discount attractions for you to take your family to. So, to labour the point, this promotes being on welfare as a very attractive lifestyle. Look at all these discounts you can get. Look, your broadband's cheaper. You can go to the Tower of London for next to nothing. If you've got a job, it's 111 quid. If you haven't got a job, it's 4 quid. That's just absurd. And, you know, if we had a proper government, they would discourage this. You should promote being on welfare as an unattractive lifestyle, something you want to jettison to get yourself a job. That is, of course, not including all the people who genuinely need welfare, you know, the disabled, those who can't work. But loads of these people are, you know, they're people who could work. They're allegedly looking for jobs, but clearly not all the time, because most of the time they're looking at attractions. They're looking at Buckingham Palace and Kew Gardens and HMS Belfast. This is just ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Kevin. And what we need to do is really go back to how things were pre-COVID as well, because we've seen the number of people who are claiming benefits post-COVID for a range of conditions, for example, balloon well out of proportion. And so what we actually need to do is go back to having things, for example, it seems crazy to me that we no longer have in-person assessments for so many benefit claimants that we have. And so what that means, people quite often, they're either having a phone call, or it might not even be that. It could just be a FaceTime, for example, where you're having a chat about what your condition could be. What we need to do is go back to the way things were before COVID, where we're having in-person assessments so we can properly judge who rightly deserves these benefits. And as I say, I think what the biggest concern about what's actually going on right now is it's meaning that money is being taken away from those people who rightly deserve and require our support and taxpayers' support, and it's giving it to people who could potentially be out in work and contributing to the system as well. And so what we need to have in this country is a complete rethink of how we're doing things right now, and that's going to involve in-person assessments and having a proper discussion about who we think deserves benefits right now, so it's fair for taxpayers and it's fair for those who rightly deserve welfare.
I'll tell you what, last point, Darwin, it's going to make a lot, because of course you can get universal credit when you're working if you're lowly paid, if it is decided that your income is so little you need more. It's going to encourage a lot of people to try and qualify for universal credit, because, you know, never mind the universal credit you'll get all these freebies. The list of them is enormous. It is a crazy system that, as I say, we should stop, because it attracts people towards benefits, towards welfare. But in a country where we pay out more in welfare than we take in on income tax, it's hardly surprising. This government as I say, it likes this. It likes welfare people. It likes the big welfare system, and it's going to kill this country stone dead. Darwin, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Darwin Friend, Research Director at the Taxpayers Alliance. Let me know what you think about that. If you're going to an attraction with your family, why do you have to pay £111 and somebody on Universal Credit only has to pay £4? I mean, that's not just a discount. I mean, that's just massive, isn't it? They're all massive discounts. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, let's talk about digital ID cards, the hated digital ID cards that this government is still trying to force on us. Turns out that these are going to be so detailed, they won't reveal if you've got your digital ID cards. I'm going to try to avoid mine with all costs if I possibly can. I'm sure all of you will as well. If you've got your ID card, it won't actually reveal one little detail about you, whether you are a man or a woman. Seriously, it will not reveal what sex, gender you are. Unbelievable. We'll talk about that next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Yeah, one more freebie can go on, cheapie anyway. Queen Elizabeth II, her life in style at Buckingham Palace at the moment. It's £22 per adult, 22 quid. Excellent exhibition of the late great Queen's and her fashion. It's a new exhibition. That's £22 to go and see that for you and me. If you're on Universal Credit, it's £1. It's £1. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let's move on to something almost equally ridiculous. ID cards, digital ID cards that nobody in this country wants. I mean, literally nobody, as far as I can work out, except for the government. Government trying to sort of gaslight us by saying, well, what do you want these cards to be? What would you know, as if we've already accepted the principle of them. We haven't. We don't want them at all. This isn't Russia. It's not North Korea. So thank you very much. We don't want your stupid ID cards. We see you. Starmer, we see you lot. What you want is control. You want control over the people. Typical socialists. We do not want your cards. Anyway, they want to impose them anyway. And here's what they won't reveal, whether or not you're a bloke or a girl, a woman or a man. No gender or sex revelations. It's just ridiculous. Let's talk to a man who has very strong opinions about digital ID cards. He is the co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller. Alan, this gets more bizarre by the day, doesn't it?
Well, it does, Kevin. It is truly bizarre, but we should remember that when this announcement now that's been made that it won't go for your sex or identity, but it's got all this biometric information and they don't need it. On the one hand, you've got this problem of the Labour Party that's had for a long, long time of not being able to know or say what a woman is. But we should remind ourselves that Darren Jones has just announced as well that this so-called scaled back digital ID, it's not scaled back, because they said it's not mandatory anymore, but effectively we know 8 million directors are having it forced on them as we speak, and that it's being pushed across the board. And he's saying that it will be used to combat populism, to combat, yeah, incredible, to combat popular ideas by the public about how things should be, i.e. not technocrats, weak authoritarians imposing surveillance and control and limits on us. So very quickly we get to see what this is really going to mean. And at the same time in Sydney, he's just announced, because in Australia they've got this, but by the way, New South Wales has had loads of fake digital ID driving licenses come up, because that always happens. It's the regular everyday public that suffer with all of this, and people who get round it. But he's there telling us that it's conspiracists that will be concerned about surveillance and control, and this is a wonderful thing for efficiency. And it's really contemptuous, Kevin, about our fundamental principles about privacy, about liberty, and also the last 6 years where we've seen what happens when a state decides that it's going to send out a rapid response unit and a counter disinformation unit that's been resuscitated to deal with ideas it does not like, or questions or challenges, as we've seen with people more recently being imprisoned for social media posts, debanking all of the concerns around surveillance and control and limits. So he may wish to cavalierly say it's about conspiracists, but on top of the 3 million people who signed the petition in Britain said they don't want it, none of this has been voted on. None of this has been in any manifesto. And that's why on the 25th of April, Saturday, the 25th of April, we have got a 4 Nations Scrap Digital ID rally, Kevin. We've got one in Trafalgar Square at 2 o'clock. We've got one in Cardiff outside the Senate, one outside the Parliament in Edinburgh at Hollywood, and in Belfast. And this is the culmination of several months of Together giving out hundreds of thousands of flyers, doing local events, protests, calls to action, making sure councillors who are standing for election hear from us and say what they believe should happen with digital ID.
I can't get into local elections because of the rules, Alan. Let me just tell you. This is a Cabinet Office spokesman, right? When we went to them about all of this, about you're not going to reveal whether or not a digital ID card holder is a bloke or a woman. How weird. This is what they said. We want digital IDs to hold as little personal data as possible. But if people think additional data should be included, they are welcome to provide their views in consultation. Well, what is the point of saying you've got to have digital IDs, but we want them to hold as little information as possible? Well, here's how much information that I say, and I'm sure you agree, Alan, the vast majority of this country want these digital IDs to hold. This is how little personal data we'd like them to hold. We'd like them to hold no personal data whatsoever. In fact, we don't want the damn things.
It's absolutely right. I mean, people don't need or want digital ID. We've got passports, we've got driving license, we've got a national security number. What we need is a robust dealing with crime. I mean, in the analog world, Britain was able to deal with crime for a long time. We were able to protect our borders. We were able to do things with old-fashioned analog ledgers and actually run things around the world simultaneously with people who wrote things down. So the idea that somehow this is going to be a silver bullet for things, we know that's not true for illegal migration in Europe. That's all been upended now, that discussion. What it really represents is a desire to, and this is why they're so nervous about it, to have more surveillance on the public, to have more control.
It's control.
Yeah.
And this is what's annoyed me about it. They launched this when they first put forward this disgusting idea that we don't want, nobody wants. It's not British. This is in essence will lead to coppers stopping on the streets and saying, "Papers, please. Got to show me your ID," oh, there seems to be a discrepancy. Come with me, will you please? We don't want that. But they launched it by saying, oh, well, what the reason we really need them is so that migrants, can't get jobs on the black economy, can't get jobs under the counter. So we'll be able to stop them from getting jobs. That was just gaslighting and not true. And then, when everybody, massive petition, wasn't there, 4 million signatures or something, in about 3 days flat. About a month later, that dork Darren Jones stands up and says, right, we're going to have consultations around the country. What is it that you want from these digital ID cards? So they act as if we've already accepted the principle. And therefore, we're going to have councils around the country. You can say what you... No, mate. We don't want your councils. We don't want your damn ID cards. Stop trying to pretend that we do.
Well, the thing is that they've done this consultation, and like many of these consultations, they're very, very one-sided. So all of the framing of the questions and the engagement is all to try and reiterate and underline the things they want to do. So we are going out to people with a suggestion about what they might want to put in, and your listeners and viewers may well want to do that too. And we are also encouraging everyone to write to their councillors and MPs and the government and have their voices heard, all right? And also to Companies House and the Department of Science and Technology and the Department of Business and Trade, because each one is sort of trying to offset responsibility to the other. But we've got this situation where also, Kevin, right, if we remember with Jaguar Land Rover and with Marks and Spencer's and with Heathrow, the data breaches, even if people think, well, I'm not so sure about, all of this stuff with surveillance and control. If you look at getting locked out of your account or getting fraud or getting data breaches, it's happening consistently.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. I mean, that is the other aspect of this. Can we trust the government with all of our information? Of course we can't. This data will be breached sure as night follows day. Alan, I've got to go now, but thank you very much. It's always good to talk to you. Thank you. Alan Miller, co-founder of the Together Declaration. What do you think? These ID cards, they're going to be full of your information, but they won't say whether or not you're a man or a woman, a male or a female. How ridiculous. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about all these Russian ships coming through the English Channel and basically Britain doing nothing about it. I'll reveal the reason why. That next. Stay tuned.
front door.
You've got mobile phone thefts, bicycle thefts. Everything is going out of control because Sadiq Khan and the left in general keep viewing crime as like a public health thing. It's not like a proactive approach to crime. All they want to do is kind of apologise and put people in a boxing club or whatever. They're not actually policing the streets. They're not punishing actual crimes.
What he does is he cherry picks parts of the statistics to make it look as if crime's gone down. So it'll be things like murders by left-handed gunmen have gone down dramatically. The trouble is murders by right-handed gunmen have soared.
He's just trying to take credit, Keir Starmer, isn't he?
This man is not a leader. He is not the statesman that our country needs. He is failing us at every single level.
Donald Trump understands that Keir Starmer is fundamentally not a patriot. He's not on the side of the West. He's been appeasing the Iranians in order to shore up his vote in this country.
In front of me is Waitrose, and I'm about to head in there. I literally openly put the stuff in my bag. I nervously walked
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, it pretty much looks as if Putin is taunting us, sending Russian ships through the English channels. This is 2 weeks after Keir Starmer pledged to go after these Russian ships. They're sanctioned tankers and things like that. They should not be allowed through. We learnt yesterday also submarines have been coming under the surface of the channel, apparently with bad intent towards our various cables that run under that stretch of sea. Of course, the Defence Secretary yesterday said, well, we can rest easy. He said, Mr. Putin, we see you. Great. Great, that's all we need, to tell Putin that we see him. Thank you very much to the Defence Secretary there. Now we learn that the reason that Keir Starmer's pledge a fortnight ago to go after these sanctioned ships has not been carried through with is because Richard Hermer, the Attorney General, has warned that should the Navy either intercept or board these Russian ships, that would be against drum roll international law. It's pathetic, to be honest with you. Let's talk to the former chair of the Defence Select Committee, former soldier as well, of course, Tobias Elwood. Welcome, Tobias. This is a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
It is indeed, and you sum it up well. I mean, Russia is enjoying testing us, mocking us, aware of how overstretched our armed forces are, including our surface fleet. And the Trump's 5-week war, I think, has been a massive reality check for Britain at a time when global cooperation is already being tested, and Britain's defence policy is being found to be wanting. We need to take stock of that and move very, very fast indeed. Some of us have been sounding like a broken record, I'm afraid, saying we need to invest more in defence. We should have been doing this 3-5 years ago. The character of warfare is changing fast. It's no longer limited to battlefields far away, as you've been describing. Society itself here in the UK is now in the crosshairs. What an easy way to cause economic harm, to sow political confusion by blowing up some of those important undersea cables. And I have to say, Russia is one of the best countries, arguably as good as America is, in doing exactly this sort of thing. So it's, in one respect, perhaps it's good that we've been humiliated in this way, because it'll wake up the nation, wake up our parliamentarians, and wake up government, and particularly the Treasury, to say, stop wasting any more time. Let's spend more money on improving our defence posture.
Absolutely. Would you say, as a politician, that politicians need to, be able to step out of their own bubble to understand the rest of the world, the rest of life? Now, Richard Hermer, this international law obsessive, is absolutely obsessed with it. Witness the Chagos debacle. What he should understand here, this is all about a major superpower taunting us, recognising that we are militarily very weak, and we need to tell them you can't do this. You're not going to send your sanctioned ships through the English Channel. If you do, we will damn well stop you. You send your subs here again, we will damn well stop you. We do not want a little man in a grey office in Whitehall, Richard Hermer, going, well, I'm sorry, I'm afraid you can't do that. International law. He's got to step out of his own world and understand there are more important things to worry about than international law when it comes to our sovereign waters.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I would say international laws is what generally keeps the world safe, and we should adhere to them. But when we're under threat, then it's actually often subject to interpretation. And that's where the political leadership comes in, rather than simply looking at the detail of the legal advice. Go back to the 1960s. Do you remember when there was a Cuban Missile Crisis? The advice came through to Macmillan at the time, when that embargo was taking place, when America surrounded those Soviet ships. The advice, the legal advice, was it was illegal. Can you imagine the outpour had the Macmillan, the prime ministers, said, oh, we're not going to support America then? There's simply no way that we would have then got the subsequent nuclear deal, which has been the backbone to our deterrence ever since. So absolutely take the advice, but then show some statecraft and some leadership. There was a promise that our Marines would be able to board these ships and do so. But unfortunately, there's some red tape got in the way. I'd also say there's some operational capabilities that are missing too. This, as I stress, is the type of warfare, grey zone warfare, that we should expect more of, and we've got to get good at pushing back at.
Absolutely. Now, I've only got a minute left, Tobias, so you'll have to be brief on a big question. I've described the ceasefire in the Middle East as the world's worst ceasefire, if it's even holding at all. It's not going to last long at this rate, is it?
I think it will last, simply because I think Donald Trump's run out of bandwidth. The dust has settled after this war. Whatever US president might claim, this is a strategic win for Iran, sadly. The regime is certainly militarily weaker, but geopolitically it has emerged stronger. America has learned it's unable to control the straits, this global economic choke point, and Iran has survived this incredible beating by a superpower. A theocratic dictator is still in charge. That is a loss for America, and I think Trump will have had enough. And the reason why this ceasefire will last is because America will simply go home, leaving the rest of us to pick up the mess.
Yeah, to sort out the Strait of Hormuz as well. Tobias, great to have you on. Thank you so much. Tobias Ellwood, former chair of the Defence Select Committee. When we come back after the news, I'm going to be talking to Trevor Kavanagh, the former political editor of The Sun. Lots to talk to him about, obviously, the situation in the Middle East. I'm going to ask him about this hidden benefits bill, all these freebies and cheapies that people on welfare get. All of that after the news. Stay exactly where you are.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Later in the hour, let's talk about the Grand National. Let's talk about the Masters Golf Tournament. Let's talk about the football, Sun Sport at around about 5:45. Lots before that then. And for the next 20 minutes or so, let's spend them in the excellent company of the former political editor and now excellent political columnist at The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh. Welcome, Trevor.
Hi, Kevin.
Now, can I talk to you first about the welfare state? I do believe that this is Great Britain is now a welfare system with a country attached. We found out the shock news, didn't we, towards the end of last week, that officially now we pay out more in welfare than we receive in income tax. And that is dysfunctional and unsustainable. We're learning today, due to an excellent article in the Spectator magazine, and also your paper has listed some of these discounts, that there are this cornucopia of enticements, encouragements to the welfare lifestyle. So we were talking at the beginning of the show about the fact that if a family of four go to Tower of London, a family ticket's £111. If you're on Universal Credit, that ticket is £4, £107 discount. And the list goes on. Massive, long list of all these attractions that you can go and see and get massive discounts. You know, London Zoo, it's £108 for a family of four. But if you're claiming welfare, £26. As the Spectator said, why look for a job when you can go and look at animals? But your paper has sort of gone into the governmental side of all of this. Household support, you get emergency help for essentials such as food, goods, energy bills. That's up to £500 if you're on Universal Credit. You get a warm home discount, £150 off. Cheap broadband and mobile deals, £196 off a year. Free school meals, save £503 per year per child. Council tax discounts worth up to £2,280, and so on and so forth. So what this adds up to is we are living in a country sponsored by the government, a socialist government, that is saying to the nation, it is far more attractive, it's a far more attractive lifestyle not to work, to claim benefits, than it is to work. And that is profoundly wrong. It's at the heart of what this government is doing so badly wrong, in my view.
Yes, it's a brilliant article by the Spectator economics editor, and I think it should be required reading across the country, and particularly in the Labour Party and the Labour government. I think that he points out that in order to acquire the sort of perks that you get as a family of five with one person on universal credit, you would need to earn £71,000 and then pay tax on that, and then you'd be left with the same sort of perks. The other point that he makes is that we are effectively being taxed twice, because those of us who aren't on universal benefit, who do go to see the Cutty Sark or the Tower of London or whatever it is, we pay extra in order to subsidise the people who are getting these discounts, because the prices have been balanced so that the actual revenue is the same. They are getting sort of grants from the government in some cases, but the cost of entry is being subsidised for those people on universal benefits by those of us who aren't, who already are paying in income tax £330 billion a year, twice what we spend on defence.
Yeah, and so, of course, that means we have to fund these ticket discounts. So people with jobs pay much higher prices to get in, so people without jobs can get in for virtually free. But that adds up to around about £10 billion a year. And then, of course, you get all of these government freebies or these massive government offers, you know, household support, warm home discount. That's a straight government, you know, so we taxpayers are directly paying for that. We working taxpayers are directly paying for this. So we have a system, we have a nation that basically says to its population, if you go out to work hard and you want to go out and take your family out, or you want to pay your bills, you're just a sucker. Don't go to work. Claim welfare and we'll help you out. As the article, Trevor, in The Spectator points out, this is an old trick of governments in trouble. The Tories started all of this, to be fair. You come into power saying, we'll sort out the cost of living crisis. We'll get costs down. We'll make life much easier for you to pay for. They fail at that. So what they then do is they start funding people. They start giving people money so that they can afford the cost of living going up. So we are trapped in a kind of vicious circle, a kind of hamster wheel of financial economic decline.
Yes, I think it is now a situation where the Labour Party, which was set up, and the name implies, to help the working class, and is now the no longer the Labour Party, it is the welfare party, and its constituents are living on Benefit Street. Why would anyone, as you pointed out earlier, why would anyone work? And of course, we've got 9 million people who are either not employed or not in education or on any other form of training, who are not working. What would encourage them to actually get up, go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning and do an 8-hour working day when they can sit on their backsides and claim benefits for some fictional attention deficit disorder?
It's ridiculous. As I say, this is being on welfare is being offered up by this nation, by this government, as a very attractive lifestyle. As I said when we covered this story earlier in the show, there are these huge websites, welfare claimers websites. They've all got the top 10 attractive universal credit discount days out. There's lists of where you can go. This is absurd. This is absurd. To be on welfare should be portrayed, should be promoted as an unattractive lifestyle. So it encourages people to say, I don't want to do, I want to get a job. It's going to make, my life will be better if I have a job. What we're saying at the moment is my life will be better if I don't have a job. And that is sick at national heart. It really, really is. Shall we move on? Still with Starmer, I guess. A new poll, Trevor, says that 2/3 of voters want him out now. He's over in the Middle East at the moment. Presumably, we're trying to work out what the hell he thinks he's doing there. He looks like a sort of frightened fox caught in the headlights. I don't think he can quite work it out. But we believe this is due to Labour's preposterous idea that given that he's completely failed to be a popular Prime Minister domestically, that they can somehow now promote him as a colossus who bestrides the world stage, you know, a master of international statecraft, and therefore we'll all start supporting us. I mean, good luck with that. This is getting ridiculous. He has to go, doesn't he?
Well, I certainly hope so. I mean, he's being portrayed by his spin doctors in Downing Street as having gone to the Middle East in order to deal with the crisis in the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, what does he have? What weapons does he have? I mean, we are a defenseless nation. All we do is shake a stick and shout a little bit, but we've got no weapons, no defense. God knows how we would handle things if, in fact, Iran suddenly got to the point of being able to aim missiles at London. We have no defenses against them at all. So, yes, and I think the Starmer, if it's only 2/3, I'm surprised that it's that. That's exactly 2/3 of the population want him to go. Well, I hope they turn out on May the 7th and say so and put their markers on the ballot box to show that they want him to go. The only problem, Kevin, and we've said this before, haven't we? What is going to replace him? Is it going to be Mad Ed Miliband and his unbelievably stupid policies about strangling our energy supplies? I mean, everything that Labour stands for could actually get worse.
Yeah, we're reaching some sort of crisis point with this guy and this government, and also the Prime Minister's, continued, as you say, sponsorship of this madman, this crazy fool, Ed Miliband. I mean, he has to go for the sake of this nation. Let's go back to Starmer. You were talking about him in the Middle East, and me asking you, do you have the faintest idea what he's doing there? Because I can't work it out. Well, here he is trying to explain his mission, his peace mission to the Middle East.
I had a discussion with President Trump last night and set out to him the views of the region here. These Gulf states are the neighbours of Iran, and therefore, if the ceasefire is to hold, and we hope it will, it has to involve them. They have very strong views on the Strait of Hormuz. And we spent most of the time on the call talking about the practical plan that's going to be needed to get navigation through the Strait, and the role that the UK is playing. For a couple of weeks now, we've been pulling together a coalition of countries, now over 30 countries, working on a political and diplomatic plan, but also looking at military capabilities and actually the logistics of actually moving vessels through the Strait.
Can we get this straight, Trevor? Basically, Britain is playing no role at all. He would be better employed, that funny little man, Keir Starmer, he would be better employed taking a look at HMS Dragon, the one warship that he deployed to the region, which took 3 torturous weeks to even make it to Cyprus, whereupon it immediately broke down. Britain isn't playing any role, is it?
HMS Dragon is basically the focal point of Britain's defence system. It illustrates all of our problems in one small encapsulated example of a warship that can't even go to war because of a water shortage problem with its systems. I mean, looking at Keir Starmer in action, if you can call it action, it's a bit hard to sort of dissociate yourself from Saturday Night Live puppet of him. And he has no presence on screen. He is the opposite of a statesman, international statesman. He is totally unimpressive. He has nothing to say. He's lying through his teeth, in effect. And I'd love to have been party to that telephone call with Donald Trump. And it wouldn't have gone the way he's describing it.
Exactly right. Now, you've been around a long time, around Westminster a long time. You know, I've been around on this world way too long, in many people's opinion. But seriously, I've never seen a Prime Minister so hated, so useless, so just incapable of doing this job properly. This is not just the worst Prime Minister I've ever seen. This is the most catastrophically worst Prime Minister this country's ever had.
He's not Prime Minister, is he, except in name? I mean, look, that poll that you mentioned earlier about saying that 2/3 want him out, the majority also want an election now to get rid of him, not just the party to get rid of him. We want to get rid of the Labour Party, according to the opinion poll. We want a different government. And I mean, the thing about Starmer is that he was totally unqualified to be a Prime Minister from the moment he was elected as an MP. He's just a plodder and a dud, and he is unable to rise to any challenge that meets him. And there are plenty on the way and in front of him right at this moment. And we are not being led. We have no real authority either here in Britain or in the world.
As you said earlier, I called the poll revealing that 2/3 of British voters want him out now. I called it a shock poll because that means that 1/3 of British voters don't want him out. I'd like to talk to them for their reasons why they want him to stick around. I can't imagine what it is. But anyway, here he is, still there. You must know sort of senior figures in the Labour Party. You must, I mean, this sounds like a joke, but there are sensible people in the Labour Party. There are practical, sensible, experienced people. They must know that if their party is to have any future at all, not just for this government, but generally, if they are to have any future at all, they need to get rid of this guy and replace him with someone who's not quite so catastrophically hopeless, don't they?
Yes, we get back to who will replace him. Angela Rayner? It is hopeless, whichever way you look at it. You need to change the government. I think that the second strand to that poll, calling for an early general election, is the only sensible move this country can take. And I think, frankly, that they would go for almost anybody. The only trouble is they might go for the Greens. I mean, we are in a terrible situation in this country at the moment, thanks to this catastrophic government and its so-called Prime Minister.
It's extraordinary. Now, you alluded to the nut zero maniac secretary, energy secretary, Ed Miliband, who, you know, is almost certainly the most dangerous man in Britain at the moment. Now, Tony Blair, again, I didn't like his policies. Don't like him much as a person, really, but he harks back to the fact that Labour used to produce at least realistic people who are able to manage the country and the economy in a sensible way. You and I might not have liked it the way he went about it, but he was a capable man. He ran a capable government. Tony Blair is now, you know, he is pretty much, to his credit, declared war on Ed Miliband. Barely a week goes past where he doesn't issue a statement. He's done it again today. Urging the government to get real. He said this government is too ideological and we do need to start drilling right now in the North Sea. Tony Blair just saying what the rest of us know. How much longer are we going to be strangled by this lunatic Miliband? How much longer is that idiot Keir Starmer going to sponsor this man? This is not the time for ideology. We need energy. We've got it in the North Sea. Let's start drilling.
Yes, who would have thought we would be pining for the good old days of Tony Blair in government? I mean, look, have you seen the latest figures for North Sea oil prices? They are at the highest level since 2008. And if we had it to sell, we'd be doing very well. And the gas also would keep us going without having to go onto the international market. These are very, very big issues. And I think the public is seriously waking up and taking note, especially when they pull up at the pumps to fill their tanks and find petrol at 155, 160 pence a litre. This is really beginning to dawn on people. The mismanagement of the government could be covered up when there was still a certain amount of prosperity, when people weren't struggling really seriously to make ends meet. But every time they fill their tank, they're going to look at this government and wonder what the hell they are doing with an energy secretary who is turning his back on the one source of fuel that could save them money. Exactly right. Now, last point, if you will, Trevor. Nigel Farage got a piece in the Daily Mail today, and I think he's hit the nail on the head. You know, this is a Prime Minister who said, you know, I'll put the country before the party. Look, this is his actual system. He puts the party before the country, and he puts himself before his party. His entire raison d'etre is self-preservation. You know, he cost his party and this government almost everything when he prevented Andy Burnham from standing in Gorton and Denton, because Andy Burnham would have won that. It would have changed the whole political picture. But Starmer stopped him because had he got into Parliament, he would have challenged Starmer for the leadership. So this man, Starmer, it's not just putting party before country. He puts himself before his party and then his party before his country. That is not a good look for a Prime Minister, is it? Well, it's cowardly, for one thing. I mean, not only is he incompetent, but he's a total coward. And he has no answers. I mean, it wouldn't be so bad if deep down you thought that maybe, given a chance, Keir Starmer would come up with policies which actually did the country any good. Everything that he's touched has turned to dross, and it is really beginning to impact the taxation, the economy, even forgetting about Iran for a moment. I think that we are heading for a downturn bordering on a recession, even with the policies of the government before the invasion of Iran. And I think that we will pay dearly for this period of Labour in office. and we've still got 3 years to go.
Yeah, we could have the greatest prime minister in the world right now, and it would be difficult times because of what's happening in the Middle East. But the trouble is we have the worst prime minister in the world, the worst prime minister we've ever had, and that is the last thing you need in these turbulent times. Trevor, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Trevor Kavanagh, brilliant political columnist at The Sun. He's seen it all. But now we're looking at Keir Starmer. Let me know what you think. I mean, it really is beyond the pale now. This guy is just a joke, a sick, useless joke. 03444991000. Big breaking news. Centre Bali, the African charity that Prince Harry created and split with sensationally last year. Remember that big bust-up where the new chairman, chief executive called Sophie, what was her name? I tried to remember it. They split. They kind of kicked out, or Harry quit, because he didn't like the way the charity was going. Anyway, they're now suing. Centre Bali are now suing Prince Harry for libel. We'll get the details on that as soon as we can. We're going to be talking about Harry later on the show, but perhaps we need to talk about that first. But we'll get the details on that, and there's much still to come. Next up, there's going to be a big demonstration in Parliament Square because Bridget Phillipson, the Equalities Minister, still has not published guidance on the Supreme Court biological sex ruling, and that was a year ago. It's a year since that ruling. That's in a minute. But next up, Matthew Syed, columnist for The Times and The Sunday Times, will try and get a handle on what the hell it is that's going on in the Middle East right now. That next. Stay tuned.
The world is on fire. Russia, Iran, China, conflicts brewing in all of their different regions. They're not waiting. But here in Britain, our armed forces are underfunded, they're undermanned, and they're underprepared. And nobody in government wants to talk about it. Well, we do. I'm Philip Ingram, and I spent my career in the world of intelligence, military planning, strategic planning, and unfortunately, conflict. This is Talk War, and this is where we analyse the conflicts shaping our world.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to columnist for The Times and The Sunday Times, Matthew Syed. Thanks for joining us, Matthew.
Pleasure, Kevin. Great to see you. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm a bit worried about what's going on in the Middle East. It's hard to work it out. The ceasefire, the Prime Minister, on his mysterious mission to that region, described the ceasefire as fragile. As far as we can work out, the Strait of Hormuz is not open. There was clearly a taunting march through Tehran yesterday, which was described as grieving for the late Ayatollah, but was something of a victory march, showing President Trump that Iran is alive and well and you have not got rid of this regime. I mean, where do we stand? I mean, if it stays like this, Iran is in control of the Strait of Hormuz, talking about charging every ship that goes through it $2 million. Very nice source of income for it. At the moment, by the way, it's pretty much closed. And the regime is intact. America doesn't seem to know what the hell it's doing. I mean, it's looking good for Iran, isn't it?
Well, lovely to connect, Kevin. I took a week and a half off, you know.
Yeah, well, you're back now, aren't you?
Over Easter. I don't know what it's like when you go on holiday, Kevin. Honestly, I thought I'm going to take a complete break. I just stayed away from the news, thought I'd refresh, come back with a clearer perspective, I hoped anyway. And it's almost impossible on a day like today to catch up with all the news that's happened, because I don't know if you get this impression. I just think the world, the volume of news, the significance of events, it's just coming so thick and fast, particularly, I think, during this Trump second term. He's in a hurry. And I think this has been, if I may say so, a huge strategic miscalculation by the Trump administration, the operation in Iran. I think perhaps a bit hubristic after the seeming success of the Venezuela operation. He thought that he could go in. He took the advice of Netanyahu and Israeli intelligence that the regime was fragile and would fall. Turns out that has not happened. Iran, as you say, this is a key issue, by the way. They have now understood, if they didn't before, that they have a massive bargaining chip in their control of the Strait of Hormuz. And that is one that American consumers are going to start feeling, because the oil price affects them as much as it does us in everybody else around the world, because oil is integrated in almost every part of the global economy. So if they're integrated, it's there. It's more radicalized, by the way, than it was previously. The Revolutionary Guard is largely in control. These are fanatics. And no matter what happens afterwards, to the extent that they have that chokehold in their fingertips, it means that they can hold the world to ransom. And it seems to me, and I don't advise it, the only way to get rid of the regime is boots on the ground. And I just don't think American public opinion will wear it.
So what does this add up to then, Matthew, for America? I mean, if they just sort of pull out now, people will say, I mean, let's be fair, you know, Iran is seriously denuded. You know, it's basically lost its entire military force, certainly its entire navy. Its air force isn't up to much anymore either. So it's very much denuded. Presumably its ability to potentially develop a nuclear bomb is also severely reduced. So America and Israel's campaign wasn't for nothing. But this was not the result we were looking for, was it?
But you say it's denuded. But remember that I agree with you to a point. But Iran's strategy here, it's deeply asymmetric. It's lost its navy, it's lost a lot of its ballistic missile capability, but it still has tremendous bargaining power, because even in its denuded state, it can still dissuade insurers from backing the shipping that needs to get through the strait. And so you say, what does it mean for America? I think it's a massive strategic reverse for Donald Trump. I think it is more likely that the Republicans will not win the next presidential election. I think that they may lose the Senate almost certainly the House in the midterms, I think it will rebound very badly on J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or whoever is the Republican nominee. I think if the Democrats, who have been out to lunch for a very long time, reaching into woke ideology, actually manage to muster a credible candidate, they can win. I think moderate's the wrong word. You need to be bold in the world today, but a decent Republican candidate, not tainted by this foreign policy misadventure, could also win. I would say this, Kevin, don't bet against America. It is still one of the most powerful nations on earth, and it's not because of the politicians. Most of the politicians are hopeless. Democrats, Trump, the MAGA movement, Washington is a swamp of corruption. I'm talking about the entrepreneurs, the scientists, the engineers, the incredibly hardworking army of blue-collar workers. They are they're a fleet of greyhounds carrying Washington on its back, and they still command 25% of global GDP. They dominate the tech space. They win Nobel Prizes. They, I think, as they have done in the past, they'll adapt and they will grow and they will remain a strong player in the world.
Couldn't agree with you more. I used to live there. Amazing people, an amazing country. They say, Matthew, the first casualty of war is the truth. Now, yesterday, Hegseth and Trump, it's okay, the Iran have buckled, the Strait of Hormuz is open. Well, you can get this app thing where you can actually see a map of all the ships and everything all over the world, actually. And as Hegseth and Trump were saying, it's open. So you looked at the Strait of Hormuz, not a ship in sight, but back from the Strait of Hormuz, just this enormous logjam of about 50 ships, all in close connection, all in this, not able to get through the Strait of Hormuz. So you've got, it's open. Iran have buckled. They haven't. It's not open.
I don't know how you feel about this, because I think truth has been under assault for quite a long time. I mean, it's easy to say Trump makes a whole load of stuff up. I mean, he exaggerates. Sometimes he just totally invents stuff. I don't think it's deception. I think it's more a word beginning with B, first syllable bull. I mean, look, people who lie serially, in order to lie effectively, you have to know what the truth is, if that makes sense. You have to track the truth if you want to manipulate people to believe a falsehood, because there has to be a distinction between the two. I think those who use bull as a technique, it doesn't really matter, truth and falsehood. They'll just throw it out there. They'll exaggerate. Trump is a swaggering president. But I think the Democrats were like that before. They wokeism and the denial of biological sex, cancel culture, microaggressions, seeing racism where it didn't exist. I think there's been a very strange assault on truth from both sides of the political domain. By the way, we talked a bit earlier, you used to live in America. What a country, by the way. Absolutely, I agree with you. I'm a massive fan of America. Oh, yeah. But the scientists have to stay in contact with reality, because if they have theories that don't work, the rockets don't get to the moon. Yeah. Engineers have to be in touch with reality, otherwise the bridges don't stay up. Yeah. Entrepreneurs have to be in touch with reality, otherwise consumers don't buy their products. That's a real America for me. I think Washington is a sideshow. In a way, I think the strength of America is a bit like the strength of football. Football is still growing despite FIFA being completely incompetent.
Yeah, that's true.
America is still brilliant and dynamic. It's still got that frontier spirit that Fitzgerald captured in his wonderful novels. Still got that, despite the hopelessness of Washington.
Yeah, agreed. And when you were talking about the avalanche of news that's almost overwhelming, there I am last night saying, I got home, let's go to Sky News on, check out what's going on in the Middle East. What's going on? Where is the ceasefire now? And then suddenly, here's Melania. She's going to make a statement in the White House about Jeffrey Epstein. It just never stops. I'll tell you what, whatever you think about Trump, his circus is very compelling. Matthew, great to talk to you. Come on again very soon. Matthew Syed, the excellent columnist at The Times and The Sunday Times. Read his columns. They are excellent. Well, next up, we're going to talk to a lady who's going to be a part of a big protest in Parliament Square tomorrow. Did you know, or were you aware, I found this surprising, it's a year since the Supreme Court delivered its learned declaration, its ruling on biological sex. The greatest legal minds in the country spent 5 years to conclude. What we've come up with is if you're like born a man, you know, you look down there, you got all the gear, then what we've decided is you're a man. And if you're born, you know, with breasts and all the female stuff, we've decided that you're a woman. How about that? That's why they went to Oxford University and studied and studied. No, seriously, that was the ruling. It was a common sense ruling. Bit ridiculous. Took them 5 years to get to that point. Common sense ruling. The government, the Labour government, didn't like it, and they still haven't acted on it. There's going to be a huge demonstration tomorrow by women who are furious about this. We'll talk to one of them in just a second, so stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. We want to talk about this big demo tomorrow in Parliament Square by women who are very fed up with Bridget Phillipson in particular and this government in general for its failure, really, to enact the ruling of the Supreme Court a year ago about biological sex, which was basically men are men and men are women, and women have a right to their own private, safe spaces. Bridget Phillipson, the Equalities Minister, is stalling on this and continues to do so. So let's talk to psychologist and social commentator, Dr. Pam Spur. Welcome back, Pam.
Oh, good evening, Kevin. And you had me laughing a few minutes ago when you were doing your, this is about a man.
Yeah, well, it's true, isn't it? You know, they took 5 years to basically say, oh, yeah, if you're, you know, if you got, look down between your legs and you'll find out whether you're a man or a woman. Thank you very much, my learned friends. That absurdity notwithstanding, they did reach a common sense decision. Now you're going to join other protesters tomorrow because Bridget Phillipson will not offer any guidance. She promised official government guidance on safe spaces, how this ruling will come into effect. She has deemed many of the proposals apparently trans exclusive. Well, you know, frankly, I don't want to be, dismissive of the trans community, but that's nothing to do with it, is it?
Exactly. And if I can just say, the incredible 4 women in Scotland who took on the Scottish ministers to get this definition of sex. And as you say, it took 5 years, and their persistence and dogged determination got us to the right place. Because unfortunately, Kevin, there have been problems with the 2010 Equality Act, and trans radical activists were going to organizations and institutions and saying, transgender, the gender change is as important as biological sex. So it all got muddied, the water, after the Equality Act in 2010. And so we wanted clarity, and thank goodness for 4 Women Scotland. Now what's happened is Bridget Phillipson has sat on this, and I know there's 2 main reasons why. She is definitely beholden to certain unions who support her, who are very radical when it comes to trans ideology, and also to some of the hardcore labor base who have been captured by trans ideology. And that's no excuse, because the law is clear, and it was actually clear way back in 2010 what it meant. And what we have across the country now, and why we're all so angry, it's a patchwork. You can go to one department store and they are respecting the law, and they will have a single sex changing room for women and one for men, and they will not allow men who think they're women into the women's room. But you'll go to another department store and find
this is the problem, Pam, isn't it? That without guidance, all of these businesses, these organizations, they could basically make up their own mind. So if they're a sort of woke, if they're kind of woke type organization, like, shall we say, I don't know, the NHS, then they won't provide safe spaces for women. Let me just read out what a government spokesman told us. We have always been clear that we support the protection of single-sex spaces based on biological sex, and that this ruling brings clarity for women and service providers such as hospitals, refuges and sports clubs. It is right and responsible that we carefully consider the draft code and its implications for those required to follow it. We have set out our expectation that service providers follow the law as clarified by the ruling and seek specialist legal advice where necessary. And I think that statement kind of falls into, sort of plummets into a kind of confusion there. But the point, what I would suggest, this is just my hunch, my speculation, that Bridget Phillipson, like so many of these woke lefties in the cabinet, doesn't like this ruling, doesn't like the biological sex ruling, and therefore she is dragging her feet with coming out with the guidance that she is legally required to produce.
Exactly that. And it is utterly shameful. And I have to say, if women and our allies, the men who support us, want to get involved, there are demos in major cities across the country and in Europe. And on X, they can go to ACTS, ACTS, under grassroots, and they list where all the demos are, which cities, and they also kick off at 1 p.m. I'll be at Parliament Square tomorrow. And we just want Bridget Phillipson to see the vast number of people who want this legal guidance put in place for the simple protection of women's single-sex spaces. Because, Kevin, when you think of things like women's refuges, for women who've been abused by men, and they end up in a refuge where a man's sitting there because the refuge decides that he identifies as a woman and it's fine for him to come in. And it's just not on. It's absolutely shocking what's going on. Same with prisons, hospital wards. Some of the NHS wards are still allowing men. They're not supposed to, but it still happens. They put men on women's wards.
Listen to this one, Pam. One of the reasons that Bridget Phillipson, again, this is just my suspicion. This is what I think. She is coming up with reasons not to provide the guidance that so many organisations need because she doesn't like the ruling. That's what I think. For example, the reason she's being so slow on this, she cited concerns that blanket bans on biological males in women's spaces could prevent women from taking their infant sons into swimming pool changing rooms. That's just ridiculous, isn't it?
It's always been acceptable for little boys to come in. That is the most ludicrous statement I've heard her make, and I did see that. And as I've repeatedly told her on X, or formerly known as Twitter, I know a great knee surgeon for when she gets off her knees to the trans ideology, the trans cult, that, you know, she can repair those knees, and she needs to get off of them.
Yeah.
I mean that seriously.
But you know, this thing about swimming pools, you know, what about infant sons? This is clearly the Equalities Minister desperately searching for reasons to say, look, this is why I haven't come up with guidance. What about mums and their kids in swimming pools? That's just absurd. That, frankly, is pretty obviously just a ruse to get her out of delivering the guidance that she urgently needs to provide. It is ridiculous that after a year, the Equalities Minister has not said a damn thing or not given any guidance about what organisations are supposed to do about women's safe spaces. She's shirking her responsibility, isn't she?
You need to come down to one of the demos.
I might well do that, Pam. You never know.
The men's voices too. We have a lot of
I'm on your side, as you might have noticed. Listen, Pam, yes. I've got to go. Good luck with the demo, and come on again soon. Thank you very much. That's Dr. Pam Spurs, psychologist, social commentator, and a campaigner for women's rights. That's what this is all about. It's about women's rights. Women's rights to have their own safe spaces without biological men barging into their changing rooms or their loos or anything like that. They've got a right to that, haven't they? It's ridiculous. Come on, Bridget, get your skates on. Next up, we are going to be doing Sun Sports, so stick around. Phil Cadden, night sports editor of The Sun, will be in the studio with all the news of what will be on the back pages of the paper tomorrow. That next, stay tuned.
He's just trying to take credit, Keir Starmer, isn't he?
This man is not a leader. He is not the statesman that our country needs. He's failing us at every single level.
Donald Trump understands that Keir Starmer is fundamentally not a patriot.
Yeah.
He's not on the side of the West. He's been appeasing the Iranians in order to shore up his vote in this country.
In front of me is Waitrose, and I'm about to head in there. I literally openly put the stuff in my bag. I nervously walked to the front door, and away we go.
The world is on fire. Russia, Iran, China, conflicts brewing in all of their different regions. They're not waiting. But here in Britain, our armed forces are underfunded, they're undermanned, and they're underprepared. And nobody in government wants to talk about it. Well, we do. I'm Philip Ingram, and I spent
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Phil Cadden, Night Sports Editor of The Sun, is in the studio. Welcome, Phil. I'm very excited to talk about the Masters over in Augusta. McIlroy's still leading, but he hasn't gone out yet. He'll be out in about 40 minutes or so. But let's go through some of the football stories first. Roberto De Zerbi, the new Tottenham manager, has given a press conference and summed up the roller coaster the club is on this season. That's one way, but the trouble is it's mostly downwards, right?
Mostly down, but this is the first time he's spoken officially since he took the job, but he's actually bizarrely said he wants to take Tottenham to the top of the Premier League, which at this
not this season, I would have thought.
He's got a 5-year contract, and obviously he's looking long term, but the first job is survival. But obviously the obvious gag at the moment is he's talking about the top of the Championship, because that's where they could be heading at the moment. A huge weekend again for them. They've got Sunderland away on Sunday, and just as his luck, whether it's a curse, he's just taken over. His goalkeeper's still out injured, Vicario, so that'll be a return for Antoine Kinski.
And Kudus is out.
Kudus, one of the players he was hoping to rely on, could be out for the rest of the season. But going back to Kinski, he's not played since the Atletico Madrid mistakes, so there'll be huge pressure on him at the Stadium of Light on Sunday.
Yeah, he was terrible, wasn't he, against Atletico?
Awful.
Didn't they take him off after 5 minutes or something?
He made two horrible errors, got subbed, and you thought he would never play for Tottenham again.
Exactly.
But obviously they've changed the manager, and it'll be interesting to see how he copes.
Yeah, that will be interesting. You probably find he plays very well, given the second chance. Anyway,
possibly.
Certainly it'll be his last chance, put it that way. Liverpool, they're in big trouble, obviously, tomorrow. They're playing Fulham. 5:30, Anfield. We can't lose. Well, we can, actually. But Arne Slot says he's still got the backing of the hierarchy. That's the famous, the directors have given me their full confidence statement. That doesn't sound good.
It is, but I'm not sure many people believe him. If you look at the last week of Liverpool, that 4-0 humiliation at Manchester City, the fans were leaving after about an hour. For him to come out and say that he's still got the backing of the fans today, it is quite remarkable, really. They've obviously played in Paris in the week. They lost 2-0 there. Should have been 5 or 6. The fans actually only stayed at that game because you can't leave European games halfway through. They were locked in, I think, for 45 minutes after the game. So for him to say that, the fans were still with them until the final whistle,
they didn't have any choice.
Doesn't really mean anything. Obviously, your boys have got a chance there. Is it a chance for Harry Wilson to maybe show his old team still what he's got?
As you just said off air, I'm saying nothing to play for, but actually Fulham have got a fairly good outside chance of making Europe. So look out Liverpool, look out Anfield. We're coming. I tried to go actually. I couldn't get a single hotel because of course it's a Grand National. Yeah. So they'll have to storm to victory without me cheering them on. Let's talk about Arsenal. They're playing Bournemouth. What's Arteta saying?
Big rallying call, really, to the fans. They've got the 12:30 kickoff, which notoriously has been quite a tough one for teams, particularly when they play in Europe in midweek. So I think he realises they've obviously had until Sporting on Tuesday night, they've had quite a difficult period. Obviously lost to Southampton, lost the Carabao Cup final. That's given the rivals Manchester City a big lift at this stage of the season. It's 9 points. City have got the game in hand. Arsenal still have to go to the Etihad next weekend. This is Arsenal's chance to really make a statement and basically put one hand on the title for the first time since 2004. So his message to the fans is 12:30, get up early, have your breakfast early, bring your lunch, bring your dinner. Basically, it's a big day for Arsenal.
And then if you lose, bring your lunch up. But yeah, seriously, if Arsenal get 3 points here, that should do it, shouldn't it?
It would just relieve a lot of the pressure that's building. I mean, I think Arsenal fans over the last couple of months have been nervous, and understandably so, because it's been 20 odd years since they've won the title. What happened at Wembley a few weeks ago, that could be a real psychological blow if they don't win tomorrow, because obviously then if City win on Sunday against Chelsea and then it's down to 6 points, City have obviously still got a game in hand, and then there's the big game at the Etihad next Sunday, and Arsenal could really blow it.
That 1-0 Europe win was very key for them, though.
It was, and I think...
See, Arteta, because the last-minute goal was... Arteta, you could tell how relieved he was.
Absolutely, And that, if they can win tomorrow, that would just release a bit of the tension.
Yeah. Let's go over to America. Let's talk about the Masters at Augusta. Augusta's looking fantastic. The weather's amazing. That is, of course, mate, the greatest television spectacle in all of sport, in my view. McIlroy against the odds. He goes out, actually, it's about 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah, 6:44.
Yeah, so he's 5 under, still in the lead. He better get his driving together today, though, because he drove all over the place yesterday.
Yeah, well, after the first round, I know he's 5 under, but he actually said afterwards that 2 under would have been a fair
given the way he drove,
of the way he played. I mean, he's in a great position, and he looks like someone who has the pressure off him. You know, he obviously carried that for so long, and it just looks like, you know, he could actually be one of only 4 people who have won back-to-back Masters.
Yeah,
following in the footsteps of Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and Nick Faldo.
Nick Faldo, of course, 96 when he beat Greg Norman. Lost like 6 shots, didn't he, in the last round? And so you got Justin Rose is 3 under as well.
Justin Rose 3 under. Just look. Oh, he's actually 4 under through 10. Yeah, I'm just.
So he's through. He's out there at the moment.
Yeah, he's through 10 holes, and Tyrrell Hatton 3 under after 12. So a bit of an English charge to try and compete with Rory.
Yeah, because has Tommy Fleetwood gone out yet?
Tommy Fleetwood is about to go out.
Because he's not in bad shape either. Yeah. He's 1 under. And Scotty Schaffer's falling off a bit.
Well, he's 1 under through 9, so it's hard to say at this stage. I think basically anyone who's under par at this stage has still got a chance.
That's why the Masters is such a great tournament, because you can be, as Greg Norman found out, you can be 6 ahead, but don't count your chickens.
Yeah, well, you only have to look at last year. I mean, Rory looked like he'd blown it in the first couple of holes, then he made some incredible shots. Then he was ahead of Justin Rose, and then obviously blew it on the 18th, and then had to win it in a playoff. So it's one of the best sporting occasions of the year, and no doubt that the weekend will be brilliant again.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Grand National later on with TalkSport's Rupert Bell, who's up there commentating. Just a quick word from you about, or your thoughts on Zach Polanski, the Green Party leader, today of all days. It's on the front of your paper today, saying that all horse racing should be banned. You know, these socialists, these lefties, these extreme lefties, they just hate people enjoying themselves, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's such a big culture in British sport, you know, up and down the country. I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of, obviously, fans who go to it and enjoy the social aspect of it as well. So, yeah, I disagree with that.
Yeah, and apart from horse racing fans not liking the idea of horse racing being banned, alcohol firms will be very much against it, because there's a lot of drinking goes on around horse racing. Seriously, though, I get it. It can be nasty for the horses, but you know, generally speaking, those horses are looked after like nothing else. So Zach Polanski, go to hell. Unbelievable. Phil Cadden, thank you. Great sports report. All on the back page of The Sun tomorrow. See you in a minute for more fantastic news right here.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your site. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In about 20-25 minutes, we'll be talking to our very own Samara Gill, our very own Australian, about the upcoming pretend royal tour of Harry and Meghan. They're going down under for this tour, but also this breaking news that the Centre Ballet charity is suing Prince Harry for libel. That would be Sophie Chandorka. She's their chief executive. We're not quite sure why, but we'll try and get to the bottom of it.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party.
Freddie, you know, that came out of nowhere, I just got home from work and I thought, oh, I'll put on the Sky News and find out what's going on in the Middle East. And suddenly, oh, wait, we've got to go to the White House. And there's the First Lady coming up in front of those flags, suddenly making this extraordinary speech about I didn't really know Jeffrey Epstein. Well, I want to ask you if you know what the hell's going on there, but it struck me that this was some sort of preemptive strike and that we can expect something or other to come out about all of this fairly soon.
It felt a lot like a kind of trying to get out ahead of some big story, but a very strange way of doing it. But everything Melania Trump does is quite strange. I think my pet theory, and it's a bit of a joke theory, but weirdly I think there may be some truth in it, is that everybody thinks that the Iran war was some very complicated distraction because the Trumps are so worried about the Epstein scandal. But what they're actually doing now is using the Epstein scandal to distract from the disaster of the Iran war. I think probably what's going on is that, well, there's a big legal fight going on between the journalist Michael Wolff and Melania Trump. It's all related to rumors, allegations within the Epstein files that Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump at some point in a nightclub, which is not their official story, which is that they met by chance in a nightclub. I don't know what the truth is. I suspect that the allegations in the Epstein files are quite thin, in fact. But there is also this Brazilian model who has said she's going to go to town on Melania Trump over the Epstein files, over that story. And so it felt like a very panicky emergency press conference that had been put out. But again, it just felt like such incredibly bad timing, such incredibly dramatic timing, and such an odd statement to make, because she suggested things that the vast majority of people don't think.
Exactly.
So this idea that I was not one of Epstein's victims, she's just introduced a whole other category of allegations that even in crazy Epstein world, people weren't saying.
Exactly right. She was implying that the talk in Washington, the gossip, the posts on social media had reached such a kind of critical mass, such a crisis point that she had to burst that bubble and make this statement. Well, that's just not true.
It's just not true. And I think it may be, I mean, people have said she has Zoolander brain because of her time in the fashion world. And I think there was something of Zoolander brain in her statements. You know, it was just, there are victims, I am not a victim. And it was very sort of inelegant way of trying to put out a statement, distancing yourself from a story.
Yeah, we're going to get to something a bit more important in just a little while, but this is very intriguing, and I've got to ask you this. What did you make of the subsequent response to this by Donald Trump, that he said, I was blindsided, I didn't even know she was going to do it. So what he's saying is that he had no idea that his wife, the First Lady, was going to make a statement to the world on television in the White House. He said, I didn't know about it.
Well, do you know the strangest thing about that? The strangest thing about that is it's probably true. They are weirdly independent of each other. And, you know, people have, for a long time, there's been quite nasty speculation that their marriage is some kind of sham and that they hate each other. I think probably a lot of that is rubbish. But they certainly have very different agendas. And he is afraid of her. In a way, he's not really afraid of anyone else.
That's interesting.
She makes him nervous. You know, his big phrase is happy wife, happy life. Like a lot of rich people use that phrase. Yeah. And he does seem to, one of his biggest priorities is not making her unhappy. And so if he's making a statement like that, I suggest it may be true that he just was a bit blindsided by all this.
It's just only in Trump land. Now, let's talk about the Middle East if we can. There's a ceasefire. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are saying the Strait of Hormuz is open. That is simply not true. There are obviously serious problems here. We've got Keir Starmer out in the Gulf for no apparent reason, saying that he's organising the British leadership of the combined response to whatever the hell is going on. Yesterday we saw this massive alleged or grieving march in Tehran, for grieving over the dead Ayatollah, although it looked for all the world to me like a victory march. It was certainly making a statement to Donald Trump and America, you did not win. What's going to happen now, Freddie? I mean, the Prime Minister says this ceasefire is very fragile. I think he's right about that. But that said, if the ceasefire doesn't hold, I mean, what is in it for America to continue now?
Well, I mean, it's a very muddling situation because people say that the first casualty of war is truth. I think this is a weird example of the first example of a ceasefire, the first casualty being truth, because nobody knows what was agreed on this ceasefire, whether a ceasefire was actually agreed, how it was brokered. The role of Pakistan is very, very interesting. Islamabad is very, very eager to stop this war for all sorts of reasons, because if it carries on for a couple more weeks, Pakistan could go into a really, really serious crisis. So it seems as though they negotiated an agreement that neither side had really agreed on. And the various point plans, the 10-point plan, the 15-point plan, neither side seems to have actually established that there is a framework for negotiations. So I suppose what happens now is all eyes go onto J.D. Vance in Islamabad. Whether Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are there, they're meant to be there, but whether they are is another interesting question, because Iran has said they're not going to talk to them, because as far as Iran is concerned, Witkoff and Kushner are kind of Israeli assets that sold them out last time. So it will be all down to Vance, I think, in the negotiations. And the pressure has really been put on him to kind of, as an American put it to me earlier, pull Trump's chestnuts out of the fire. because otherwise, I mean, you know, if he can do it, then he can reassure the MAGA wing that are uncomfortable with the war, worse than uncomfortable, they hate this war. And he can, you know, position himself as the stabilizing force within the Trump administration. But if he can't, and it looks like it's an impossible hand he's been dealt, then we're back to square one, which is Iran seemingly getting the upper hand in this war, because Trump cannot get rid of them without a land war, and he's not going to be willing to do a land war, although he may find himself having to do a land war, or worse, as some people fear, some kind of very, very large, and I'm sorry to say it, possibly even nuclear strike on Tehran, because he's got himself into such a terrible, terrible position. That's a very, very dramatic thing to say, I realise, but that's the position we're in now. The Americans are in a very, very difficult position, and they don't quite know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, you and I sort of discussed this before, but I've always been a supporter of Trump. I like to support Trump, if only because of the people that really annoys. But I do like the gist of Trump. I like his anti-wokeism. I like his decisiveness. I like him as an entertaining figure. But this war, where we're at now, it is very hard to support him, and it is very hard to conclude that this has been anything other than pretty much a disaster for America.
I completely agree with you, Kevin. I think the real problem with this, as far as I'm concerned, is that it's proved all the worst people right. All the people that said that, you know, pompously talking about Trump's character while they support people who have much worse characters. You know, all those people said you can't have this kind of a narcissist in power because he'll do all these terrible things. He'll be irrational. He'll be crazy. And they've been mostly wrong for a very long time. But on this, I'm afraid it looks like they're completely right. He has deluded himself into thinking that American power can do things that it just cannot do, or at least cannot do very swiftly. And that has caused this crisis.
And what it's led to, there's no doubt, in terms of attacking Iran, destroying as much of it as you can, I was kind of in favour of that. I still am in a way, because sooner or later, the West would have had to do something about Iran. And frankly, it might as well be now as any other time. The trouble is, America and Israel didn't seem to really plan for how the war would pan out. But the good thing about this is, Iran is very denuded. It's lost its navy. It's lost its air force. It won't be able to develop a nuclear bomb. We pretty much hope we won't anyway anytime soon now. But the net result of what we've seen since February the 28th is, on February the 28th, when this war started, Iran had no control over the Strait of Hormuz. Ships, 130 ships a day, a fifth of the world's oil passed through that narrow stretch of water off the coast of Iran every day. Here we are, middle of April, at some kind of a ceasefire, and the net result is that Iran now does have control of that very important stretch of water. It is now in control of the Strait of Hormuz, and that is a disastrous result, not only for Trump and America, but for the world.
Yeah, well, what do people call it? They call it the status quo antebellum. So the status quo before the war would be the ideal situation for the Americans to reach now, which is that Iran offers some kind of enrichment deal, uranium enrichment deal, and tells its proxies to calm down and promises to be a slightly better actor on the world stage. I don't think that's possible now, whereas it was possible before. So the war has backfired in many ways, and the danger now is that the regime is not just potentially nastier, if you can believe that's possible, but I'm afraid it probably is. It's that it's unstable, and that you have a kind of civil war situation in which we will have to exact or pay a toll to a kind of piratical group of IRGC leaders who expect to be paid for safe passage through the Hormuz. And that means that we are in a much worse position than we were. So it's very hard, and I'd love to hear someone advance an intelligent case for how this war is going well, but I'm afraid I just haven't heard it.
Yeah, I agree. Talking of things not going well, or it should have gone better, because you would have thought when that colossus of the international stage, Keir Starmer, turned up in the Gulf region, that perhaps peace and harmony could be achieved. But it hasn't been. But I want to get your thoughts on what the hell you think our Prime Minister is doing out there. Here's his version of events. Have a quick look at this.
I had a discussion with President Trump last night and set out to him the views of the region here. These Gulf states are the neighbours of Iran, and therefore, if the ceasefire is to hold, and we hope it will, it has to involve them. They have very strong views on the Strait of Hormuz. And we spent most of the time on the call talking about the practical plan that's going to be needed to get navigation through the Strait, and the role that the UK is playing. For a couple of weeks now, we've been pulling together a coalition of countries, now over 30 countries, working on a political and diplomatic plan, but also looking at military capabilities and actually the logistics of actually moving vessels through the Strait.
We seem to, Freddie, be implying that Britain has a leading role in whatever the hell he's talking about. I said earlier that I think he might be better employed focusing his attention on the one warship we did try to send to the region, HMS Dragon, which spent 8 days getting out of Portsmouth Harbour, then bobbed around in the Channel for a few more days, got to Gibraltar, spent 4 days there mysteriously, took in total almost 3 weeks to get to Cyprus, and has now broken down. He'd be better off focusing on that than talking that gibberish that he's spewing about leading some kind of coalition. What on earth is this man doing?
I'm afraid it just exposes. I mean, Brits. I'm a patriot, but we do sound preposterously vainglorious on the world stage now. This idea that we're an important player in this conflict, or that we could even be an important player, even in a diplomatic capacity, is ridiculous. And I'm afraid on the naval front, I mean, yesterday the story about the Russians, being caught trolling us in our maritime areas was so pompous. John Healey's statement, "We see you, we see you." So what? Do you think Vladimir Putin's going to go, "Uh-oh, guys, we've been rumbled. We better pull out of Ukraine"? It's just this idea that we are capable of exerting hard power. Yeah. It's so delusional that we resort to saying we're going to be some kind of Switzerland or some sort of, lead negotiator. But nobody's listening. And Starmer, one of the things that Starmer did well in the first part of his presidency was handling the sort of hurricane of diplomacy that is Trump. But that's now fallen apart dramatically. And so he's left with almost nothing.
And how much of a body blow do you think it will have been to President Trump that Keir Starmer has now declared that he's fed up with him?
I think Melania Trump's going to be occupying more of his mind than Keir Starmer. I think he'll be more worried about his wife than Keir Starmer at the moment.
Indeed. Freddie, listen, you're going to need to come on again to try and pick through this maze for us, because I'm damned if I can understand what's going on. But thank you for throwing some light on it. Good to talk to you. Have a great weekend. Freddie Gray, the excellent deputy editor at The Spectator magazine, big expert on America, spends a lot of time there. Let me know what you think of some of the things he was saying. I mean, my big question is what the hell does Keir Starmer think he's doing out there? Can he stop lying to us? Leading a coalition, we're telling that Britain is taking a primary role. No, you're not. You've just gone out there for photo ops. You've just gone out there because your ludicrous party has decided that the only way they can sell you to an increasingly disgusted, sceptical public is to say, oh, yeah, OK, he's not very good domestically, but he's magnificent abroad on the foreign market. He's fantastic, a colossus of the world stage, an international statesman. Oh, do me a favour. Do me a favour. If you think that is going to work, you guys in number 10 Downing Street, you've got another thing coming. It's not going to work. Give it up. Give it up. You got a turkey in charge. I suggest you replace him ASAP. Next up, after the break, we're going to talk about Prince Harry and Meghan. They're off to Australia, but a story has just broken saying that Prince Harry is being sued by the charity he founded, Centre Barley, being sued for libel. He's said something. He's defamed them, they say. We'll find out what we can about that next. Stay tuned.
He's just trying to take credit, Keir Starmer, isn't he?
This man is not a leader. He's not the statesman that our country needs. He's failing us at every single level.
Donald Trump understands that Keir Starmer is fundamentally not a patriot.
Yeah.
He's not on the side of the West. He's been appeasing the Iranians in order to shore up his vote in this country.
In front of me is Waitrose, and I'm about to head in there. I literally openly put the stuff in my bag. I nervously walked to the front door, and away we go.
The world is on fire. Russia, Iran, China, conflicts brewing in all of their different regions. They're not waiting. But here in Britain, our armed forces are underfunded, they're undermanned, and they're underprepared. And nobody in government wants to talk about it. Well, we do. I'm Philip Ingram, and I spent my career in the world of intelligence, military planning, strategic planning, and unfortunately, conflict. This is Talk War, and this is where we analyse the conflicts shaped
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, our resident Australian is in the studio, Samara Gill. Hi, Samara.
Hi, Kev. Great to be here.
We are going to talk to her about it. It's a great story because Australians had been assured by the gruesome twosome, Harry and Meghan, that when they go on their pretend royal tour pretty damn soon, next week, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they go down under one of these weird pretend royal tours that they do. They've done Colombia, Nigeria, Jordan, and now Australia. You know, they pretend they're like the king and the queen. They go around watching tribal dancing and things like that. It's just really, really weird. But a big story's come out in that. It looks like Harry's being sued for libel. Now, before I get your answer on this, I've got to do the competition.
Go on.
I forgot.
I've been waiting.
I forgot. This is our competition. Summer is on the way, and there's no better way of spending a sunny afternoon than at Wimbledon, and we are giving you the chance to be there. We've got 2 tickets for the Centre Court on Monday the 6th of July, and you could be there right in the heart of the action with official Wimbledon debenture seats and enjoy exclusive access to the debenture lounge all day long too. Here's how you could be in with a chance to win. Okay. Well, there you go. We'll try and play that a little loudly a little later. But
always
anyway,
read the terms and conditions, which we will find out in this
exactly,
story.
the T's and C's. We need that. Yes. Anyway, let's go back to Prince Harry. We'll talk about the Australian pretend royal tour in a minute. But this is broken today that Harry is being sued for libel along with his fellow former Centre Ballet charity chief, Mark Dyer. Now, we don't know what this is about, but last year there was an extremely bitter breakup as Harry and Mark Dyer left the charity, and the chairwoman there, Sophie Chandorka, basically accused them. She didn't like the way they were running the charity. Now, this whole issue went to the Charity Commission, and Harry launched what was described as a thinly veiled attack on the chair, Sophie Chandorka of Centre Ballet, that he founded 2 decades ago, for telling, quote, blatant lies. He said in response to the Charity Commission's decision to open a compliance case, the Prince said he hoped a robust inquiry would unveil the truth. Now, we don't know why it is that Centre Ballet or why Harry is actually being sued, what the actual reason for this libel is. But given that he accused Sophie Chandorka of telling blatant lies, Miss Chandorka is a lawyer, and she does not suffer fools gladly. We found that out.
No.
I would suspect that this has got something to do with it. This is maybe what he's being sued for.
I think absolutely. I mean, Sophie Chandorka, Dr. Sophie Chandorka, was a very, and still is a very accomplished black woman. You know, she was an executive at Meta. She was a lawyer. She had many different accomplishments, and Sentabale was also one of them until it seemingly Harry really cut her down quite publicly in, as you said, this feud that kind of went on in front of our eyes. And I remember Sophie Chandorka going on Trevor Phillips' show and sort of saying her piece. Harry was leaking left and right. So
Chandorka went on to TV and accused Harry of, and I'm quoting here, harassment and bullying at scale. And the reason for this attack was for him releasing news of his decision to resign, as Sophie put it, and I'm quoting her again, without informing me or my country directors or my executive director. Now, Harry basically accused her of telling blatant lies. I suspect that it's the blatant liar allegation that may be at the heart of this libel suit against Harry. So Harry, who loves to sue newspapers for libel, I think the last count, he sued 4.5 million newspapers for libel. No, he's always suing newspapers for libel, saying they've libelled him. He's going to get a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah, he really is, and I think it's very overdue. I mean, this man genuinely, I think, dragged Sophie, and I just mentioned, you know, what she looks like and that she's a woman and all that, because Meghan and Harry always try to claim that they are some sort of saviors of women, and black women at that, and that they are doing everything in their power to help them. Well, this very messy feud is precisely to do with Harry not being respectful to at least whoever was running the charity and the management. I agree with you. I think it's absolutely, we're just all alleging here, but it must have something to do with Dr. Sophie Chandorka, because that was extremely ill-informed on Harry's side.
Just to recap on what the whole dispute was about, was that Sophie Chandorka was running the charity over in Africa. Lesotho is where it was based.
HIV and
it was for kids whose parents have died from HIV and AIDS. It's a very good charity, let's be fair, very good cause. But it all kind of went pear-shaped because Sophie Chandorka didn't like the way Harry was approaching fundraising, the way he was a distant character who didn't go there very often.
Who can forget about Meghan, by the way, stealing the charity cup off Sophie Chandorka for the photo op?
Well, that's it. What Sophie Chandorka didn't like was the fact she essentially accused Harry and his mates of kind of a white saviorism, that they were doing all this fundraising. Their fundraising was champagne polo events in Florida. Yeah. And she said, well, you know, we don't want that. It's just, you know, we don't want that kind of fundraising. Harry didn't like that, and it all got very, very bitter. And in the end, Harry and this guy, Mark Dyer, quit. And Sophie Chandorka has carried on running the charity. Now it looks as if she's suing him for libel. That's what I would say. It's because Harry accused her of telling blatant lies. But as I say, that is just speculation, but very interesting story. Let's move on. Now, the gruesome twosome, Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are about to go to your fine country down under, Australia.
We don't want them.
See, that's why I got her in. Are you an Australian taxpayer?
Yes, actually.
Exactly. I knew you would be.
Yes,
so, along with other Australian taxpayers, you must be furious because there's been a big petition in Australia of Australian taxpayers saying, well, look, it's a free country. They're free to come here and pretend they're pretend they're the king and queen of California or whatever that is to do. By personal riches, but that fine. But we don't want a penny of Australian taxpayers' money wasted on this visit because it's not a frontline royal thing, you know. And we don't mind funding an official royal tour like they did 8 years ago when they were still members of the British royal family. But we don't want to fund this. But it turns out that Australian taxpayers will have to put their hands in their pockets for this couple.
Yes, so that's what the Victorian police announced today. And also, I believe the New South Wales police, so like the Sydney police, that they will actually be conducting extra security for Harry and Meghan. And this is crazy. This is absolutely insane. This is the Australian taxpayer paying so that Harry and Meghan can sip some champagne and have a girls' weekend off the bat. No, genuinely.
I know.
While our country is going through massive austerity, it's in a very similar economic situation under our Labor government over in Australia to what we're dealing with here in this country. And I don't think it's the time. I mean, optically, this is terrible. Their last trip cost over £500,000 pounds or dollars, and a bit of a difference there, but I think it was pounds. It was extremely expensive, but given they were actual royals back then, now it makes absolutely no sense that they will have taxpayer-funded security. And it's hilarious how their press person or whoever's putting together a response for them has said, no, we didn't ask for that, we don't need that. Well, they knew all along that they would have to receive this. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, their new PR boss, guy called Liam Maguire, stated that this visit was being, quotes, privately funded. Well, they may well be paying for their own airfares and their own hotels, but they're not paying for the police protection that New South Wales Police has confirmed that they will be running a major public safety operations surrounding this tour. That must be infuriating for Australians.
It's going to cost thousands, and the reality of the whole situation is that, as we can see with the fact that Harry's tour hasn't sold out, Meghan's didn't sort of in a flash sale sell out. It was a slow burn in that regard. No one really cares about them. Why are we spending this much money to facilitate them? I mean, it's insane that they're getting treated like actual royals when they're not contributing anything to the economy in that way. I can kind of justify their last trip because it was pretty successful, and I think that's what has given Meghan the idea in her mind to go and do this. But I really, really think that they're going to now, especially now that this has been leaked before the trip. I think it was
successful, by the way.
You don't think why?
This has been photo ops.
Well, it was, wasn't it? And they again piggybacked off their children.
It's successful for them on the most shallow level. Look at me with a kid in hospital. Take a picture. Aren't I wonderful? Right. I'm the new incarnation of Princess Diana. I mean, you know, if you think that's successful, fine. That's what this is all about. But when they go to Australia, the financial side of these strange pretend royal tours is going to become rather venally evident, isn't it? Because,
very much.
Of course, she's going to be doing this weekend in Sydney, a girls' weekend, women's only weekend, and he's going to be making a speech for $50,000 in Melbourne at something called the Symposium on Psychosocial Safety at Work. Funny enough, they can't sell the tickets. Can't think why.
The security alone will cost more than $50,000, I think.
Exactly.
To protect Harry.
She's getting $250,000 million for this weird women's weekend at a Sydney hotel. And you got news of someone who was going to go but has been banned.
Yeah, this was an insane story, and honestly married with the fact that they're now taking taxpayer-funded security, to then see that she's going Saudi Arabia style and banning journalists from coming into her girls' weekend just as the cherry on top. So what happened was this very well-meaning journalist paid the money to go and see Meghan, and it was not in a way that she was going to even report on it. She just wanted to go spend a weekend with Meghan. You know, she writes in her piece that there's a peculiar power of modern women's wellness culture. Wrap something in the language of empowerment, add ocean views, a gala dinner, champagne, and the promise of proximity to royal adjacent celebrity.
So this girl's been banned because she's a journalist?
Yes.
This is so...
No, but she wasn't even going there in a journalistic capacity. So essentially, apparently, you registered for this weekend. Then they would say, we're picking and choosing who we want to come to this. She then got an email saying, you've been chosen. Literally, you are the chosen one from Meghan. She paid the $3,000 Australian dollars. and now she's been barred from the event.
Yeah, so they're trying to sort of media control this. Good luck with that, Meg. Good luck. That's all I'll say. Samara Gill, fantastic stuff. Thank you so much. Let's go straight to break. We need to talk about the Grand National after these messages. Stay exactly where you are.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I hope this is going to work. We've got a few technical problems, but at 9 p.m. tonight, it is my show, What Just Happened, live here on Talk. As of tomorrow, you can watch it anytime you like from about 9 a.m. on YouTube. What Just Happened, starring me and a fantastic panel, Samara Gill and Ash Gould. Here's a little clip.
All drugs have a side effect. And I'm not sure we're even across all of the side effects.
Obesity obesity has a lot of side effects too.
Yeah, but, you know,
like very severe ones.
Yeah, well, you know, can I suggest willpower?
Yeah.
Willpower, you know. I know the perfect diet. Eat less.
And drink more.
So it's not that easy for some people. People have emotional issues. Some people have been sexually abused. That's why they carry extra weight.
Look at little Miss Woke here.
No, I'm not woke. I just think that it's not fair to just assume people are fat because they but I mean, yes, because they eat too much, and fat jabs have proven that. But
yeah, that's What Just Happened. That's on at 9 o'clock tonight, so stay tuned to watch that, and then on YouTube tomorrow as of about 9 o'clock. Anytime you like. What Just Happened. Brilliant show. Right, let's go straight to TalkSport's commentator, live from Aintree, Rupert Bell. It is, of course, the Grand National tomorrow. Hi, Rupert.
Evening, Kevin.
Can I first get your comments? Let's do the killjoy bit first. Zach Polanski, the leader of the Green Party, has today of all days called for a total ban on horse racing. I think he does this because he's like a petulant kid that likes to annoy everybody. But, you know, tell us why you would oppose that.
Well, it's obvious I'm going to oppose. I understand what racing brings to this economy. I mean, it's a hugely popular sport. We saw it today. Huge crowds at Aintree. I think this comes from a series of tweets that he said he would ban racing. I think the Green Party's view is they'd like to ban the whip, but I just think it underlines the fact that he probably doesn't approve of the sport. He thinks it's something, animals shouldn't be used for sporting purposes. But I would say that racing is a huge economic part of this country, particularly the rural economy, the number of people it employs, the number of people are going it. It's Britain's second most popular spectator sport behind football. And I think whatever you say that it is a suggestion that should be thrown into the bin. Look, we're not saying racing doesn't have problems. And today, sadly, we did see the dark side of the sport when Gold Dancer had to be put down after a last fence blunder and then was found pulled up after the line and then was found to have what we believe to be a broken back. So it's not a perfect sport. No one is suggesting that. The sport does its very best to make sure that it is, has the animal interests at heart, and that is definitely the case when you go to yards the length and breadth of this country. Racing is a significant part. And remember, as I always say, what drove this country back in the day? Horsepower. Yeah. Horses were an integral part of this country. That's why you have horsepower with regard to motor racing, motors, cars. So horsepower is the driver of this country as it was, and racing has a part to play in continuing to keep the thoroughbred, the horse breed, very much in the forefront of people's minds.
Well said. I mean, I hate to hear that stories like that when poor horses have to be put down after falling. But to say ban it for that reason is a bit like saying let's ban football because sometimes footballers break their legs very badly. You know, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But let's get on to the event itself. You'll be commentating. Can you run me through talkSport's amazing coverage first?
Well, first up, 4 o'clock tomorrow on talkSport, me and Lizzie Kelly will be on hand to describe the action of the 34 runners. It is always a great spectacle. It's been, the course is very different to what it used to be, but it still will create that frisson of excitement. And, it looks a very open race. I am Maximus, top weight, trying to win the race again, having won it 2 years ago. Will likely go off favourite, but it's a wide open race. So it is simple. If you like a name, back it. If you like the colours, back it.
That's usually my system. Whenever I try and study the form, I lose money. So I fall back on my educated system, which is: do I like the name? Do I like the colours? And that usually works. Well, can you give us who do you think's going to win?
There's a big gamble on a horse called Panic Attack, trying to become the first mare to win since 1951, way before you and I were even thought of.
Exactly.
Last time there was a female horse, to put it simply, won this race. So it would be a rare moment. Trained by Dan Skelton, who's having a great week and is likely to be champion national hunt trainer. Willie Mullins has got 9. Owner JP McManus has got 6. Those are the green and white colours green and yellow colours that you often see for the JP McManus. I like the look of the one grey as a sort of each-way nibble selection, and that is Marble Sands. I don't know whether I've got a screw loose, but Marble Sands. But as you don't listen to the experts, go with what you fancy.
What's the actual favourite, Rupert?
I Am Maximus is currently the favourite at around about 15-2. Always have a little each way flutter because a lot of bookmakers offer 5, 6, 7 places, so that does give you an opportunity to get your money back. Because you're not relying on just winning, and so I would suggest always doing that and just enjoy the race for what it is. It's 4 miles, 2 furlongs, I think, 30 fences. Still got the names of the fences. They look a little different. If you go back in the year and you see Beecher's Brook when Red Rum was winning his 3rd one, my goodness me, that looks scary. But it's a different feel. But it still will be a great contest.
And Panic Attack, it was on about 25-1 yesterday. It's down to 8-1. So get your money on it quick, right?
Well, the bookmakers are running scared for that one.
Yeah, I know they are. Yeah, they're panicking. They're panicking.
They are. Yeah, because they're being attacked by the punters. But anyway,
there you go. That's why you get the big bucks, mate. Rupert, I'll be tuning in 4 o'clock on talkSport tomorrow. Rupert Bell commentating on the greatest race of them all, the Grand National. Thank you to Rupert Bell. Let's go to break, and when we come back, we haven't taken enough calls today because it's been so busy, but we'll squeeze some in, and I'll read some of your messages, so stick around.
He's just trying to take credit, Keir Starmer, isn't he?
This man is not a leader. He is not the statesman that our country needs. He is failing us at every single level.
Donald Trump understands that Keir Starmer is fundamentally not a patriot. He's not on the side of the West. He's been appeasing the Iranians in order to shore up his vote in this country.
In front of me is Waitrose, and I'm about to head in there. I literally openly put the stuff in my bag. I nervously walked to the front door, and away we go.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I've got another show. It's available right now, if you like, anytime you like, on YouTube. It is Plank of the Week. Here is a little clip.
You've got mobile phone thefts, bicycle thefts. Everything is going out of control because Sadiq Khan and the left in general keep viewing crime as like a public health thing. It's not like a proactive approach to crime. All they want to do is kind of apologise and put people in a boxing club or whatever. They're not actually policing the streets. They're not punishing actual crimes.
What he does is he cherry picks the parts of the statistics to make it look as if crime's gone down. So it'll be things like murders by left-handed gunmen have gone down dramatically. The trouble is, murders by right-handed gunmen have soared.
Plank of the Week, Pete Barnes there, and me as well. Samara Gill laughing there. She's paid to do that. That's on YouTube right now. A couple of quick messages. This is about all this benefits, all these freebies that they all get. This is from Bill. It says, Kev, please mention that pensioners whose paid for pensions are stated to be benefits do not get cheap entrance fees. That's an interesting point. That's he says, as far as I'm aware. I wonder, interesting point. Well, actually, Pete the Mole says, I'm a pensioner and I don't get discounts for anything. This is from Bert in Tooting. Afternoon, Kevin. Our glorious leader, Keir Starmer, is parading around the Middle East like a headless chicken. His goose is cooked. Well said, Bert. Margaret, he's fed up. Let's talk about Keir Starmer. The British people have been fed up with this little man since July 2024. He's supposed to have spoken to Donald Trump. Wonder if the second word was off. The second word was probably off from Donald, not Keir. Let's quickly go to the phones. Peter Carver will be in a little while to tell you what he's got lined up for your entertainment from 7 until 9 p.m, because at 9 p.m, of course, it's what just happened, as we just explained. Here's Louise in Kent. Hello, Louise.
Oh, hi. Kevin. Well, firstly, can I say with the benefits thing, it's only if you have a means-tested benefit that those things would apply. Yeah, but then again, there are all the freebies or the discounts you get from the government in terms of your heating bills. Even so, it's generally a means-tested element. Yeah, but so you think it's a good system? I don't. I think it's a disgraceful system. No, I think it's disgraceful. Yeah. And having had, it's not means tested. You just have to prove you're on universal credit, and then you get. Instead of paying £111 to get into the Tower of London, you spend £4. Yeah. The whole thing is dreadful. But anyway, you want to talk about net zero? Net zero. Well, yes, I tell you why, and I think this is disgusting, Kevin. All these nationally significant infrastructure projects, which the very large solar farms are. Yeah. And they had one yesterday, which passed, the biggest one of all. Right, we had one passed here. I'm afraid it is dreadful, Kevin. I don't think a single national NSIP has ever been refused once it's gone to the 6 months. And the costs of putting it through that 6 months, when you have an inspector there, you have all the villagers and people fighting it hard with all sorts of hopes. They've even got all their local people to go there. It's very strictly controlled. Also, Louise, what do they say? What do they say in the local bit? They say, please do not ruin where we live. Yeah, and every single one has been overturned, been approved, saying that the national thing outweighs the local benefit. Now, what are the costs that are involved in those? Louise, don't try and
put logic into this. It's an absolutely insane system being run by a lunatic, and namely Crazy Ed Miliband. It's a scam. It's a scam. It's a disgrace, and it's pointless. It's absolutely pointless.
Can I say something else about? Because I've discovered something yesterday which completely shocked me. All this, this digital app and everything else. Well, I thought they were developing the NHS app so that it would cover anything, all your care plans, everything else. Right. Yesterday, completely out of the blue, after an OT assessment with the Mental Health Trust, I received an email from something called Patient Knows Best. Which is a parallel system to the NHS app, except it drills down further, so you've got access to test results and everything else. Trust it's voluntary for, but they have to pay to use it. But it's not pay for the patient. You can log in, and when you do that, all your data flows over. So I rang up, said, I didn't ask for this, and they said to me, oh, well, none of your data has gone through. I said, well, yes, it has, because you sent my email address through to them without...
I'll tell you what, Louise, we'll have to look into it. I don't know about this, and so I'll have to look into it, and we'll have to get...
it's a parallel system, Kevin.
Right. Well, I'm saying I didn't know about it. We'll have a look at it. We'll have a look into it, and perhaps you and I can have a chat about it next week. But thank you for alerting us to it, and thank you very much for another excellent call. Please call again. Louise in Kent, quickly, let's speak to Michael in Hertfordshire. Hello, Michael.
Good evening.
Hi.
Starmer says he's fed up with the impact the war's had at home. We are fed up with everything he's done to this country.
Yeah, he said he's fed up with Donald Trump, and we're fed up with Keir Starmer, right?
No, he actually said that as he got off the plane. He's fed up with the impact that had.
But he also said he went on to say he's fed up with Donald Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. But the man has not done one thing that's correct.
I know. It's just astonishing. It's astonishing how bad he is. Couldn't agree more.
And
Michael,
as for his minister, Sillybank, why are they not doing emergency drilling in the North Sea?
Because he's insane, Michael, and we are in the grips of an insane government. It's as simple as that. There is no logic to this. I've got to go, Michael. The show's nearly over. Thank you very much for an excellent call. Michael in Hertfordshire. Quick quote from Centre Barley about this defamation action against Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. They said Centre Barley launched a defamation action against its co-founder, the Duke of Sussex, over what the charity said was a, quotes, coordinated adverse media campaign which caused, quotes, operational disruption and reputational harm. That's what its board of trustees said. Peter Carr was in the studio. Sorry to keep you.
That's all right. Plenty on Iran. Obviously, Starmer is so incredibly crucial to the peace talks that they...